Hello and welcome to Boomer Live. Of course, today we are here to talk about the dark horses or the underdogs of this year's T20 World Cup. T20 World Cup is here. It starts tomorrow with the opening game between Sri Lanka and Namibia. And later on in the day, we are going to see UAE take on Netherlands. So T20 World Cup is finally here. The group stage gets underway tomorrow. Then we're going to have Super 12 start from 1 week from today. So that is how it is. The vibe is all set. So last year we had asked you what is the right word for the teams who we don't really consider as favorites. Is it the dogs or is it the horses? So we have gone with the underdogs because we believe dogs are such cute animals and they're also fierce fighters. We also talk about fighting a dog. We don't say fighting a horse. Horses are warriors. So this is a kind of theory which we had to bring, and we always believed in fighting the dog. So this dog is gonna fight. So not terming anybody or any nation as dogs. Let me make it very clear. I know last time in the comments we got some people thinking we call them dogs, but no, it's underdogs. And last time we did an underdog story, you saw that team went on to win the Asia Cup. So there is some superstition about these underdog teams, and every time we do something like that, they're going to do well. Last time it was Sri Lanka. This time again we have Sri Lanka. I really do not want to rate them there, but it is what it is. So let's get going on that front. I have both Jaren and Sandeep joining me, both looking with they've all worn the dark outfit there to show what they're going to be supporting. They're supporting the dark horses. They both
I think
are on the.
just like I was just gonna say, just like Sri Lanka, if you see a little towards the bottom, it's a bit more lighter. So
Yeah,
maybe, maybe sign
yeah.
of things to show.
Yeah, even Satyamani has worn black. I worn black, so it's for the dark horses. You never know with them, the dark horses always go on to surprise and win it all at times. So it's always been the case in Australia and the World Cups. But I'll get off with Sandipani first. Sandipani, welcome on this show, and on a level of how you did underdogs. How do you see this World Cup playing it out for the teams who are on the weaker side? Because we've already rated the favorites. People have already chosen their top four. So how is it going to be for these teams? We have chosen the underdogs to be the teams who are yet to qualify for the World Cup, the Super 12s. So for them, how is it going to be to cross the first hurdle, then to go on to do well in the Super 12s?
See, we have had some positive signs from the teams that haven't yet managed to qualify or get the automatic qualification. Sri Lanka winning that Asia Cup would have really boosted their confidence and spirits because they got a string of consecutive wins, and that really boosts teams' confidence. And then beating class teams like India and Pakistan, who are almost like playing a full strength squad, so that would have given them immense satisfaction. But this is still a new tournament, a different tournament, in different conditions. So that adaptability factor, how they adapt to the conditions and how they go about it, it is going to be very interesting. And when you talk about West Indies as well, West Indies came to Australia. They played two T20 internationals in Australia, and the signs were good because if you consider the West Indies of the last 2.5 years, we have seen that they have predominantly suffered against spin bowling because
Mm-hmm.
be it the likes of Yuzvendra Chahal or Tabrez Shamsi, the Adil Rashid, whoever comes and tours to West Indies, the spinners are really successful against the West Indian batter. But this time around, we saw that they sort of adopted a different sort of a approach to tackle the spinners. They were not really going after Zampa; they were playing him out. So it's going because they are some great players of pace. Uh, it's been a thing for the West Indies, for the teams from the Caribbean, for quite some, like since 1970s. They are great players of fast bowling. So they will fancy themselves to get after the fast bowlers in this bouncy fast tracks in Australia. But when it comes to spinners, I was very skeptical about how they will go. But so far, the signs have been good. But it will be interesting to see how they go about it because this is the first time after a long while, that West Indies are not sort of going ahead with a really with all star power sort of a squad. You don't have Russell, you don't have Narayan, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
somebody like a Bravo, you don't have Gale, you don't have Marlon Samuels, who was very impactful in 2014,
Mm-hmm.
2016. And then
We didn't have,
he's
they didn't
a,
have Mark and Marshall and Ambrose as well to add to that list because you're bringing players
yeah,
from all across generally.
yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
mean,
Yeah.
but then they were never T20 ballers. We never know how they
You
would have
never know,
coped.
man. But to be very honest, no disrespect to these legendary bowlers. I know I'm sparking a different debate, but if they would have played in this era, I bet they would have gone for runs as well.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Abel, because you don't have those kind of you don't have the fear of bouncers in these batsmen anymore, and then there's obviously limits to batting and bouncers. The bats are much heavier. Helmets
Yeah.
have come in, and
Yeah,
I mean,
especially
I
with the
think
helmets coming in,
I
the
think
safety
if those
safety has been, yeah,
yeah,
safety has been looked into, and now it's really, the batsmen are
yeah, and the
fearless
batsmen
now.
are more fearless. The fear is now shifted towards the bowling, and plus, I think it'll be disrespectful if any of these legends were asked to bowl a slower delivery. So, I think that being said, I think it would have been very difficult for them to actually cope. I'm not saying they wouldn't. I think they're champions of the game. They would have probably found a way, but it would not be easy for them at least.
I mean, that's a different debate, man. And
Yeah,
I still, that's why I really don't want people from that era to be talking about T20
correct.
cricket, because they talk about T20 cricket in a different way. T20 cricket should be perceived in a totally different perspective, because it's a different format altogether. It's unlike cricket. I don't know if I ever say it's cricket, but it's unlike the test format, or it's unlike any other format. It should be perceived in a different way. But Jaren, as I already asked to Sandeepani about the teams facing hurdles, can we get going? Can we have the two-time world champions on the screen? We'll talk about them first up, because they are the strong favorites. They were the strong favorites almost every time, and they are the strong favorites to make it to the Super 12s from the qualifiers as well, because they are the two-time world champions for a reason. And here they are finding themselves to be in the qualifiers. It's led by Nicholas Pooran. They've got a very strong squad. On the paper, they all are individual match winners. They've got likes of Nicholas Pooran leading them. Brandon King is an exciting name. Robin Powell, we all know them. These are household names in IPL. You know that these guys can win you a match on their own, on their respectful day. Alzai Joseph is a key prospect. Then they have Akil Hussain and Jason Holder. Sheldon Cottrell has had a very good series against Australia, so he's going to be one player to watch out for. Johnson Charles has made a comeback into the team, and he's going to be a player to watch out for alongside Evan Lewis. We all know about these names. There's no need to talk about their ability, but let's analyze them from a perspective of how far they can go in Australian conditions. Jaren, talking about this team as we have them on the screen once again, how do you see this team shaping up? Because we saw them in the Australian series, they gave fight to Australia, and Australia took that first game by the scruff of the neck. All this could have been won all in that series, and West Indies knows it. West Indies knows that they've got the players. If they can have two batsmen to click in every game, they can really get into the Super 12s from there on, isn't it?
And absolutely, I mean, that's the kind of game that West Indies brought into the T20 format, isn't it? I mean, they were one of those early. I think T20 format changed when West Indies really took to it, because they started realizing that a six is much more important, and they just love going after the bowling. And even if they play 3 to 4 dots, if they can get those two deliveries outside the boundary ropes, that's all that they're looking for, and that's the kind of game that we've seen from this West Indies team throughout generations. But that being said, I think this team is going to face. This is the team that is coming after the golden generation of Bravo, Andre Russell, Pollard is now retired. Narayan has not been in the squad for quite some time. But one player they'll really miss is Shimran Hetmyer.
Yeah.
Unfortunate incidences, leading up to the fact that it didn't seem like he wanted to be on that flight to
I
Australia at
mean,
all.
I bet he wanted to be on the
And
flight. He just didn't couldn't make
yeah,
it.
I think he was just, I think he kind of,
But
I
my
think he's,
question to you is this, as we already do
yeah.
not have the name, but Shimran Hetmyer has been a match winner for whichever team he has played in the last 3 years. There's been issues with his fitness, of course. There have been different concerns regarding his fitness, even for Delhi Capitals and even for Rajasthan Royals, even for Guyana, wherever he played. But on his day, on the finishing role, he's a very good player of spin. He can take on the pace bowling. Should West Indies board have considered him? It's just one flight ticket to Melbourne or Sydney or wherever they were going to play, but they just want to take a disciplinary action upon him.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense to me, because if you don't do that, then I think, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to manage these players, right? And
Yeah.
if every other player is sitting on that flight, and you are making these special exceptions for one particular player, it goes both ways. I think that player himself will start thinking a lot more about himself. Maybe he'll start thinking about himself beyond the team, and same goes for the others who will probably look at him and think that,
Would you
okay,
have
he's a
fined him instead? Like there should have been a fine instead. Like we are
yeah,
imposing
I think
ten
I think
five
that would
thousand
have been
dollars
a
on him.
fairer way to go. But I think the West Indies board believes Probably they also believe that
That's
Shimran
a
Hitman.
typical PT sir kind of a thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I
like you're
agree. I
out,
agree.
out of the bus. But
Yeah, not on the bus, correct.
But that is very casual from Simran Hetmyer. Such a big tournament, T20
Yeah,
World
yeah.
Cup. You're
That's my
playing, you're
point.
representing your country, or probably the mixture, like the group of your islands, the union of your islands, and that is very casual. You are missing off such an important
we do
flight.
not know why he missed this flight either. We just know he missed this flight. What if
I mean,
he
it's
had
very fishy,
emergency?
and unless we have some inside scoop, like this is a very gray area where
Oh, it
where we are
is.
not quite sure why he missed the flight. What was his relation with the board? There has to be some sort of grudges between the two sides. So he was put on a very thin thread, and once he missed the flight, the board was like, okay, we are going to be non-tolerant on this one, and because this is something that rarely see in cricket, that a player misses a flight, uh, and such an important flight, and he's just taken off the team. When I read the news, I thought this was some sort of a joke, but clearly it wasn't.
Yeah.
The joke
And
was on Hetmeyer.
he was playing his island nation cricket in the same tournament where I think Rakim Cornwall scored 200. He was playing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
tournament. So, I mean, it is one of the worst ways to get dropped. I've never seen anything like that ever before.
But yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Hitmyer has had issues with the board, right? Because if you see for the last 1 or 2 years, he has not been a consistent starter in the playing 11, even though he's playing T20 leagues all across the globe. But when it comes to the national side, we eventually we all like most more often than not we see him being dropped from the side, because right now West Indies, they have somebody like a Rovman Powell in the middle, so they sort of think that they can get away with not playing Shimran Hetmeyer. He is not that integral part of a team for West Indies as he is for some as he was for RCB or Delhi Capitals. But for when it comes to
Hmm.
the West Indies team, he's not that integral part of the team, because we have seen right after that tour of India where he got those 2 or 3 centuries in the ODI series. He got a very hefty sort of auction buy, and right after that we haven't seen his relation with the board. Like, he did not have a very good relation with either Kyron Pollard or probably Nicholas Puran, because this is something that has been going on. Shimran Hetmeyer has not been an active starter in your playing 11, and with
I'm pretty
this
surprised
sort of
about
an
that.
excuse for missing a World Cup, this sort of rumors will again sort of start to surface.
And we'll pull out their squad once again before we have further discussion on this. Jaren, if you look at their squad, you can understand they've got a very strong opening choices. They've got various opening choices. They've got Kyle Mayers who can open the batting. They've got Brandon King who can open the batting. Evan Lewis and Johnson Charles who can open the batting. So they've got close to four openers right there in that squad, what we see on the screen. But when it comes to the middle order bat, we know West Indies have always been strong middle order suited team. They've always won World Cups using their middle order. But if you look at that middle order, except Nicholas Puran, you really can't find a player who can really take a game away from you. Rahman Powell is there, but Rahman Powell hasn't been the same Rahman Powell since the start of the IPL. He's been there and thereabouts, but not really set the stage on fire. So, my question is this: who can really fit in the middle order roles? Because West Indies have got a lot of options to think about from here on.
I mean, I think for me it has to be. I mean, obviously Nicholas Purina and probably even Jason Holder. Those are the two who will be the linchpin of that middle order. They'll need to play innings where they have to lead this team, make sure that they play those 20 overs, and be that anchor. Not exactly an anchor, but somewhere I would say at the rock of this middle order. Where these two are the ones who make sure that they at least stay till the end. At least one of them stays till the end, and make sure that the lower order, or rather the tail end, is not exposed as such. And that's probably what they'll have to look into. Aside from that, Roman Powell, I feel, is the kind of batsman who will not give you consistent scores every match. But when he clicks, and he does really well. So I think that you have to give him that space and that opportunity. And because you have that kind of a middle order, I think here on you would require Jason Roll and Nicholas Puran to do really well. Nicholas Puran also hasn't had a rich vein of form heading into this World Cup, so some concerns there as well. But I mean, I think throughout the course of this tournament, and because they've got some minnows, so as to speak, in the early part of the tournament, I think Nicholas Puran has the chance to bring his form back.
But I think still Nicholas Puran has been the best middle order batsman in the West Indies team in the last 1 or 2 years.
Absolutely.
By far the best middle order batsman, because he
I mean,
was in a rage vein of
yes,
form come the IPL, and even after the IPL, I think like quite recently, just before the tour of Australia, I think he averaged close to 40 in this year of
yeah,
international cricket as well. So I think the captaincy has been doing a lot of good for him as well,
yeah,
because I think he has improved as a captain as well as a batter. He has become more matured as a batter, because the one problem that we really had with Nicholas Puran was his consistency. But right now we see that he sort of understands his role better. I think the stint at Sunrisers Hyderabad really helped. The stint
yeah,
with Brian Lara, and right now I think both the batters, both the middle order batsmen for Sunrisers, Aiden Markram and Nicholas Puran, has become very matured, a very matured batsman, especially in the middle order,
yeah,
because he knows that
yeah,
he knows the exact depth of the team. He knows that there is nothing much to follow after him. There is Robman Powell, there will be probably Jason Holder, Odin Smith, and then the tailenders, the lower order will follow. So, but talking about the opening scenario as well, I think Kyle Mayers has been in a good vein of form. He has been everywhere for West Indies. He's bowling for West Indies. He's batting for West Indies. He's a gun
Yeah.
fielder. So I think Kyle Mayers is going to be a very important player for West Indies in this tournament, and I think he'll be open along with either Brandon King or Johnson Charles, because with the West Indies this West Indies squad, I feel Evan Lewis will come in at number 3 for them, and then you'll have Nicholas Puran at number
Evan
4.
Lewis has done decently well in number three for even Lucknow Super Giants, so he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
really mind batting in number three, and he's got the game in him to really win matches from any point over positions as well. So that's the thing with Evan Lewis. If I'm not wrong, he's also batted number six for Lucknow Super Giants one of the occasions, and he went
Yeah,
on to
Yeah,
yeah.
win a game.
but I think, but I think he's a misfit at number 6. I think
Yeah,
he's definitely a better to be kept at your top 3, because see, with these West Indian players, consistency is always an issue. But when
yeah,
they get going, they look like they are the best players on the world. And with the tracks that they are going to get in Australia, the fast bouncy tracks, which will be which should be great batting tracks. I think all these players are really going to fancy their chances of scoring big, because the boundary
absolutely.
is not going to be a huge problem for the West Indians, because they clear
Yeah.
80 meters anyway.
Yeah, so that's a good point, to be very honest, and also the spin is not going to be an issue, unlike UAE or any other place where you could say you can trouble them with spin. Here there's a true bounce and the ball is not going to turn much or even stop. So West Indies batters likes to play on the up, and that's where the calypso flair comes into the picture. You already saw it from Kyle Myers. He played that shot. And everybody he
Yeah,
took the world by awe. That was one of the best shots you saw of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were SS98 say captain's press conference, all was good, but Babar and Rohit's photo shows is something else. I think ICC really want to create this vibe because there's a lot of hatred online already between India and Pakistan. From whatever I
yeah.
see, the banter has begun in a very bad way for all the fans already. So they want to create a positive atmosphere there. So that's why there's a lot of fun and games. And I also see, Rohit Sharma and Babar Azam and this Pakistan team gets along pretty well with the Indian team. I think it's also going to do a lot with the age, and they barely get to see each other, so they admire each other in a lot of ways. And especially if you look at Babar Azam, he says he admires Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma. If you see Shaheen Afridi, he also says the same thing. So there's a lot of things to like about these two teams. When they go
See,
about in the
but
pitch, they don't
honestly, if you
sledge.
want my take on it, I feel all this friendship and positive vibes is all okay till the start of the game. I mean, when
Yeah,
the game starts, you have to be aggressive on the field. I don't
yeah, you
like to
have
see
to.
the fact that the bowlers are coming and they are chatting, like Hardik Pandya is being very friendly with the batters when he's bowling. Just be
Yeah.
aggressive.
That
I
makes
think
sense.
that is
That
the way
makes
to go
sense.
about it.
I think India hasn't been the most aggressive against Pakistan in the last couple of occasions. That's what led to India's losses as well over there.
Yeah,
But India's
I
looked to be
think
aggressive. Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. We say Kaine's back foot shot was on top of the bounce was majestic. Absolutely, absolutely got the nail on its head. That was one of the best shots which I have seen personally of this year. And Kapil Verma says, sorry, I'm sorry to take your name wrong. Uh, 23rd October, the whole India will stick to their TV and mobiles. Absolutely, except me. I already told you the reason. But let's go ahead. We have already spoken about the middle order, but let's talk about bowling. Right, bowling has been one issue which West Indies have had in the recent past because they've
Yeah.
not had that. that X factor bowling option. But now they've got Alzari Joseph, who have they're blooded into the T20 format. He had a very good stint with Gujarat Titans, who went on to win the IPL. They have an Robin McCoy and Sheldon Cottrell. Robin McCoy has been terrific as well. He was one of the key factors in Rajasthan Royals playing the final as well. Then they have Akel Hussain, who's their spin spearhead. But they really don't have that X factor bowling pick like a Samuel Badri or like a Dwayne Bravo to really go out there and win matches of its own. So how far it's going to be tough for West Indies, because Jason Holder can pick you wickets up front. He's a utility cricketer, but at the
Death
same
over
time,
bowling is going
someone,
to be a huge concern
yeah, that's my
from this
issue
bowling
again.
lineup. Yeah, definitely,
Death
because
overs bowling
Jason
is an
Holder
issue.
is your opening bowler. You have Sheldon Cottrell, who is very good up front, but when it comes to the death, he sometimes finds it very difficult to execute his plans. And then you have Alzari Joseph and Obed McCoy, who are bowlers who sort of depend a lot on their variations, and they are usually bowling they are usually on the shorter side of it. They don't really go for Yorkers. If you see Obed McCoy and Alzari Joseph, you will see that they bowl a lot of deliveries that are short pitch deliveries. Like, because obviously Alzari Joseph is a very tall player, so whatever he bowls, it comes like how Mohammad Irfan used to release the deliveries. So the ball comes at a good height, and in these Australian pitches, it's going to be very difficult to contain the opposition with this bowling lineup, especially at the death, because Akil Hussain is also a bowler who will come in within the power play. He'll bowl 2 or 3 overs and then probably have 1 or 2 overs in the middle overs. So that death bowling overs, Obed McCoy and Sheldon Cottrell really has to step up.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sheldon Cottrell is a bowler who can pick you up wickets up front, but his death over issues, we've already seen that in the IPL once. He's seen it multiple times. But I like the way he's improved as well in the recent past, where he's been able to control. He's got the slower ball working for him. Obin Maker has done a decent job in the death overs for IPL or wherever he has played, but they still do not have the one bowler. Alzari Joseph could be the bowler, but I'm not really seeing him exploit the death overs much. Jaran, coming to you on that. Who can be that one bowler for them if you had to pick from the squad which we have on the screen right now?
To be very honest, it's a tough call because I think all the bowlers have, except for maybe Alzari Joseph, I think everyone else has struggled of sorts. For me, I think, I've always liked the way Jason Holder balls in the death. He's got that calm head on his shoulders. But again, I think the biggest problem that the West Indian bowlers will face in particular is the same, same issue that we talked that benefits the West Indian batsmen. The pitches are going to be not as responsive to the cutters and the slower deliveries of any of these bowlers. And Sandeepani's got it spot on. I think except for to an extent, I would say, someone like Jason Holder can get those Yorkers right. He gets them once in a while right. But aside from that, I think Obed McCoy has struggled to get his lines right, at least in terms of Yorkers. And Alzari Joseph is the only one I expect who does that job well. So that being said, I think they lack that second bowler, the one who will help Alzari Joseph close off those last overs. And that's where they'll really struggle. And also, I think where they'll also lack is a second spinner, because I really think they're kind of being affected by the fact that I think it is Karaya who isn't as experienced,
Yeah.
because I think till 2021 he hadn't played a first class match, and then he was straight away brought into this team, sort of fast tracked into this team. He is had on and off. He did not look the part in Australia at all against Australia, but then we need to see if he's able to adapt, or he has adapted in the meantime, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
these
but
teams
I
have
was
been
really
constantly
surprised with the
matches either.
exclusion of Hayden was Junior in the team. Don't you
Yeah,
think? Because
exactly. I think
he
I
was a
have a
good shot.
feeling the only reason why Hayden Walsh Jr. has missed out is because he's had a bad. He's had some, like, he's had not had many wickets taken in the past 1 year or so. He's had a average of 42 as a bowler. I mean, as a bowler in the last 1 year. So that's where it's really hurt. But then if you look at I think uh, if you look at the list, he's still gotten 8 wickets in 12 matches that he's played. So maybe West Indies are being a bit harsh on him. But then I think, and also Karaya can bat a bit. So I think that's another reason why he's in the squad over Hayden Walsh Jr. But I still rate Hayden Walsh Jr. very highly. I think he's gotten him to be a good spinner, at least a support to Akil Hussain. He can be that player who can come
Also,
in
no Fabian
and pick
Allen.
a
Like,
few wickets.
Yeah, that's also another surprising call. There's no
Yeah,
Fabian
there's no
Allen.
Fabian
But
Allen as
Fabian
well.
Allen, I understand because Fabian Allen wouldn't really contribute with the ball, but he had been very effective with the bat especially in the lower order for West Indies
But I think
across the
he has
last one
done
or 2 years.
Fabian Allen as well has done decently. He's got an average of 26 and got around 9 runs per over, which is almost equivalent to what Hayden Wolf Jr. has got. And Karaya is pretty bad. I mean, except for economy, his average has been bad. So maybe West Indies trying to look at their spinners as defensive options rather than attacking options because Akil Hussain is getting those wickets anyway. So I think that is the idea that they
Mm.
try and give the ball to Karaya, get those overs through, and hope that the pressure that he creates allows
Mm.
Akil Hussain to do well. But I'm looking
But
at
honestly, I don't
these
think
figures,
Karaya
and
will get a
these
game.
figures don't. Oh, I mean that
Yeah,
would be also interesting actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
if he
yeah.
does
Where
well.
is people have
That's
asked
even.
where is Bishu? I remember Bishu. I think he's not
Legends
in part
cricket.
of. Is he a legend already
Yeah,
or?
yeah, he was part of the West Indies team. I think road safety or the
Oh,
league
is
cricket
it?
that was going on.
So
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
already
yeah, yeah.
retired. Okay,
Yeah, Bishu
but
has
yeah,
already retired. Bishu was a part of the Legends cricket team.
yeah. I remember in the 2011 World Cup and even there and thereabouts, he was a good bowler, and
Yeah,
that's one thing.
very impressive,
He, he says
especially in the test format.
this tram needs Fidel Castro. Uh, that's interesting. He's
I mean, he meant
Fidel
Fidel Edwards.
Edwards.
Yeah, Fidel Edwards is another bowler. I think a very underrated bowler for the West Indies team. Two very
Yeah,
underrated bowlers for the West Indies team over the last 2 decades have been Jirom Taylor and Fidel Edwards. I think those two players deserved better than what they got from their West Indies board, from their respective teams wherever they played. The concern with Fidel Edwards is that he has pace. The line and length is an issue because
But
he
Fidel
often.
Edwards is almost like 39 years old or something right now, so
Yeah,
they
but
really don't want to look at
yeah,
him.
definitely he has become old. But even though when Fidel Edwards was really bowling well, he was nailing those Yorkers. He was playing in those Canada leagues and different leagues across the world. But he was not getting a chance in the West Indies team, which was very surprising. And I also feel Jerome Taylor and Fidel Edwards were dropped from the West Indies team at a time when they were sort of peaking. So that was really bothering to see them being dropped
and I
like that.
think they kind of entered into that West Indies team when the West Indies team was going through that kind of turmoil with the board. The players are
Yeah,
not going well with the board, and
because
there were a
because
lot
I
of
remember in my childhood the oppositions were like sort of dismantled by Fidel Edwards and Jerome Taylor with their
Yeah,
first 10 over spells in the ODIs, because India
yeah, I
actually
think
really struggled against
them
Edwards and
combined with Ravi Rampal, they were a
yeah,
potent trio. I mean, I don't
yeah.
think they played many matches together,
no,
but
I think
at least
Rampal
when
came
two
a
of
bit
them
later.
played together.
Yeah,
I mean
even
No,
Rampal,
but
Kima Roach, they were replacements of Fidel Edwards and
Jerome
players
Taylor.
like
Yeah,
Jerome Taylor.
correct, correct. But Fidel Edwards is still bowling in the county cricket and he's bowling pretty well. So they still could
Yeah.
have considered maybe not in T20 format. And he also bowled recently in the T10 format, if I'm not wrong. And Fidel Edwards
Yeah, but
also was
now
the
with
part of
Fidel Edwards, the problem is his line and length. It has been a problem
yeah,
for a long time now because he has that pace. He bowls those Yorkers, but it is probably one or two balls
yeah.
in the entire over.
I
So
mean,
he
yeah,
he travels for a lot of runs.
it's way too early to even consider. It's too way too late to consider them. Because where's
Yeah,
Rampal? I think everybody's stuck in 2010-11 West Indies. They're asking where's Bishu, Edwards. I think they're not really followed West Indies
they've
cricket
all
or
moved
they.
on. They've all moved
Yeah,
on.
Rampal has a very good record against India, both with the bat and also with the ball. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rampal is a
also
decent thing.
Rampal is a night rider. Like he plays for Zimbabwe Knight Riders in the Caribbean Premier League.
But he used to
And
play for RCB though, from the IPL. Just putting it there.
no, right now I think he has a contract with Knight Riders and he's going to play in whatever teams Knight Riders. But no, like I'm serious with this. So yeah, Ravi Rampal will play for
I
Knight
think
Riders.
I think much more than Eden Gardens or in Chinnaswamy, we have a bigger RCB versus KKR debate always happening on Boomer level.
Uh, that's the worst rivalry I've ever seen. It's not even a rivalry because RCB always gets the better of them. So
I
let's pull out
mean,
the next team on the screen.
it ultimately went on to cost Gautam Gambhir's career. So you have to know the rivalry is big.
Yeah, so let's pull the next team on the screen. It's a team which has done decently well, though they've got the results in their favor. But it's a team which is impressive. It's the Irish squad. They're led by Andrew Wilburney. They've got Josh Little, who is a very exciting talent. They've got Lauren Tucker. They've got Paul Sterling, who's been there, thereabouts, always been there. Curtis Camphor, another all rounder to watch out for. This is a team who's got it. They've got Harry Tector as well. Um, to be honest, they are a team who have always pulled out surprises in the World Cup. And always they've gone on to upset the big boys in the big stage like the World Cup. And last time around, when they came to the World Cup, they knew what they had to do. And it was in UAE. That's one of the reasons why they couldn't make it possibly. But this time, I think the conditions are going to suit them a lot more because they like the ball coming onto the bat a lot more. Someone like a Paul Sterling enjoys that. Josh Little, from whatever time I've seen of him, he's a player to really watch out for as well. Jen, talking about this team, how do you rate this team to make it to the top four or to go to the Super 12 from here on?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the. I think this is going to be one of the surprise packages of this year's World Cup because they've got it in them. I think regardless of what they did in the previous tournament, and that's something I'll put it out there right away. I think last year's tournament and this year's tournament will not have any connection whatsoever. Maybe the only connection that people will have is it's this occasion that you'll see. Aside from that, because it's happening in exactly two different points of the world, and I think Ireland will be much happier to be on this side of the world rather than where they were in the previous end, and then they would be hoping they'll do well. And as you mentioned, I think for me, I think Paul Sterling is one of their best, and I would go on to even say that he's one of the legends of their cricket at least. A very underrated player. He's done well even when he's gone out again, and played in leagues as well. Harry Tector and Joshua Little and Andrew Bilburney as well. He's a very technical batsman. He's not yet gotten into his stride. There's a long way out for him to start really doing well. But I think he's getting into his own when it comes to international cricket. Although the only thing that's concerning for them, I think, is their middle order of sorts because it's kind of filled with players who are not who've gotten that. I think their strike rate is the number one issue, I would say, because most of these batsmen they've not been it's not like they've been playing against high end teams except for maybe India, and I think it was Pakistan or someone else had also toured them. I don't remember. I think
New Zealand, New Zealand.
South
New
Africa
Zealand,
also.
yes. And I think except for New Zealand and India series, they've been playing against some of the minnows as well. So even then, the strike rates haven't exactly exceeded 135, and that'll hurt them in Australia. I think that's something they'll have to work on. So if because they haven't, it's not like they've got the bowling to really scare the batsmen out of their skins, especially if they really want to get into the final. Get into the next round, they really need their batsmen to do well. And I think Paul Sterling is someone who will really have to take up the lead there.
Yeah, that's very true. And Satyamani, we've seen of this team, they can really give that big opposition a run for the money, and it's going to be an interesting run for them as well. Especially when it comes to qualifiers, they can make it to the into that Super 12s, but how can they? Because the journey is going to be tough again. And last time we thought they could make it, but they really fell somewhere there. They fell to the spin. But this time,
Yeah, I
can they
think
really do
they
it?
were blown away. They did not expect Namibia to come in so strong against them, and I think that is where they became a bit complacent, so as to say, because it was expected of the Ireland team to at least make it to the Super 12s. And like this time too, because they are a good side. They are a good side. They have the balance. I think the bowling department is on the weaker side because they don't have, like Jaren mentioned, uh, they don't have that X factor players which the opposition will really fear. But having said that, they have enough talent with the bat. I mean, Paul Sterling is a superstar. He's one of the top scorers in T20 internationals all across the world. Then you have players like Harry Tector, who is in the richest vein of form. And then you also have players like Andrew Balburney. I think Andrew Balburney is a much better ODI batsman than he is a T20I batsman, because he has still not been able to adapt to that role of opening the batting. He used to come in at number 3 for them when William Porterfield used to
Hmm.
open the innings with Paul Sterling, or probably there was Ed Joyce with Paul Sterling. So he used to come in at number 3 for them, but he has to come in and open the innings for Ireland. He has been opening the innings for Ireland in T20Is along with Paul Sterling. So with that change, I think that has brought in a change in his game in the T20I format. So he has been finding it a bit difficult to get going. And
I mean, even
on
George
the bowling
Dockler is
department.
another name. George Dockler is
Yeah,
Dockler
George
is another
Dockrell
name.
was actually, he was introduced as a bowler,
I
then
think
he
for
Yeah,
a
eventually became
long
a
time
bowling
he
all
was
rounder.
a bowler, and then he's like, I
Yeah,
think that's something we've seen in this Ireland team. I think there's one more. I can't recall. There's another bowler, there's an off spinner who had a similar track record where he was introduced as a bowler, but then he became a number three, number four batsman.
okay.
If I remember his name, I think I'll circle back to it.
yeah,
But till then, I'll allow Satyavani to speak.
Yeah, but even with players like Mark Adair, Josh Little, you'll get lots of things. Like they have the variety. They have Curtis Camphor, who picked up 4 wickets in 4 balls in the last
yeah,
World Cup.
yeah.
So you
World Cup.
have
Yeah,
players, you have some of those players, but they have to come in at a more consistent level. And with George Dockrell, I mean, I think the team has been burdening him with a lot to do with the bat as well. Rightly mentioned by Jerin, because they don't have players with strike rates in excess of 135. They don't have too many players with strike rates in excess of 135. So they have had players like George Dockrell come in at number 5. You will see that George Dockrell, more often than not, he comes in at number 5 right after Harry Tector, or probably he comes in the overs for 13, in between 13 to 15, as he's assigned the role of a finisher in that team.
yeah,
So I think they need a bit more clarity with the role description of the players, because there are lots of players in that middle order who haven't been performing up to their potential that they should probably, because now they are no longer like, uh, those days are gone where Ireland were like, were the minnows. Because right now, if you consider, like, there was a phase, they had a golden period in between 2011 to 2015, somewhere between 2011 to 2015, 2016. Kevin O'Brien, Johnson, they used to really dominate for Ireland. William Porterfield, there was Ed Joyce. So they had the team who could sort of boost them, and they had some good runs. But right now, again, we have been getting the old Ireland, where they have been finding it very difficult to finish off games. They have been starting really well. They are in control on the majority of the game, but when it comes to holding the nerves in critical situations, they often end up on the losing side. Because it's not just against New Zealand or India. Even if you consider series against Afghanistan or Bangladesh, they actually go really close. They have really close encounters against them, but more often than not, they end up on the losing side, because they don't have players who can sort of take the responsibility and finish the job for them. They have players who sort of boost it. I think they choke a bit, if I can
mm.
be so
Yeah.
open
I
and
mean,
say that.
Ireland will be taking on Scotland. They'll be taking on Zimbabwe and the West Indies. So that's their group like, and it's not gonna be easy run because Scotland is another team who has done decently well, and of course West Indies are a strong power as we already discussed earlier on the show. How strong a team they can be, and Zimbabwe as well. It's not gonna be easy. Zimbabwe has been
Yeah,
peaking, and Zimbabwe has been
correct.
doing pretty well. I've not included them as an underdog, but we can talk about them in brief over
I
here.
think when
No,
you say underdog, we're talking about them in the perspective of the whole tournament and not just the group stages, right? I think in
yeah.
that stage, yeah, they are.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
but
just taken
also
the
if we talk
names.
about Zimbabwe, they are coming from a very high point right now, because they went really close to beating India. They had a great series against probably West Indies right before that, and then against
Australia,
Australia they won. Yeah, they won a
yeah.
game against Australia in
Yeah.
Australia. So that's a huge feat.
Yeah, there's gonna be a
And
lot of
Australia were not
confidence
And I
fielding a
building.
think,
very weak team. They were fielding a really strong team. Probably
yeah,
most of
I mean,
their
Australia,
A
yeah, they
grade
were.
players were there.
Yeah, yeah, they were, they were. We already got a question asking, can West Indies make it to the top four? If West Indies qualify, they'll be going into the group with India, Pakistan, and South Africa. And if they can get 2 wins against two big teams over there, I really see them making it to the top four. Who knows? We've all been predicting India, South Africa, Pakistan, India, Pakistan,
but
but
then I mean,
who
yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
then
knows?
for
they
that
are
to
not really the
happen,
favorites, right? They are fourth in contention when you talk about them on in terms of paper. I think they are the fourth favorite team to make it to the semi-final. So you'll have to have two teams to falter on top of them. They
yeah,
need
Yeah.
and
either of India, two of India, South Africa, or Pakistan to falter to for them to actually make it to the top.
It's not going to be easy as well. If India
Yeah.
or if West Indies are going to make it to that group, it's not going to be easy for Pakistan or India, or be that like even for South Africa as well. Because on West Indies day, if they are chasing any total down, they can really go hell for it. And
I
India,
think
India have got first hand
for them
experience of it.
to win, they will have to chase all their matches, whichever
Yeah,
they want
true.
to win. I think them defending a target is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think that's going to
I
be
think
a.
Rudra has a very interesting question out there. Who was that dude who did a chicken dance after Sehwag's wicket? I
I
think it
think it
was
was
Trent Johnson. Yeah,
Johnson.
yeah, Trent
Yeah.
Johnson.
Yeah, I
And
remember that
I
dance.
think
That was
he's
Yeah.
coaching one of the sides. Which side is he coaching right now? I think he's coaching one of the Mino nations.
one of the underdog nations.
Yeah, underdogs. Yeah, Mino nations is a very derogatory
Yeah.
term. So as to say.
Yeah. Underdogs is not derogatory, guys.
Hong
It's
Kong,
really
Hong Kong.
nice.
He's the coach of head coach of Hong Kong right now.
Hong Kong, yeah, Hong Kong is not
Yeah.
made it to the World Cup, but yeah, I think we're getting a lot of questions related to 2011 World Cup. People ask where's Kevin O'Brien, where is
Kevin
Trent
O'Brien just
Johnson?
recently retired.
Yeah,
He
and he
wasn't
played
part
the
of
legend.
it for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And
But
even
he has served his duty for Ireland for a long time now, 14, 15 years. These are the players who sort of took that Ireland team into that golden period generation where golden generation period where in between 2011 to 2016 where they were actually coming in and beating teams in the top 8, and it was not being considered as upsets because them beating England and West Indies were not really considered upsets back then because they were on par of, on paper as well when it came to teams
Yeah, I
like
mean they were
West
doing
Indies and
so
England.
well that's the reason why they were given the test status as well.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
just
And they also had a very good ball in Boyd Rankin, who went on to play for England. Then he came back to Ireland again.
correct.
So they've had good players there and thereabouts, but they've not really,
England and
you know,
Ireland is a different love story altogether. I mean,
oh, they've had a World Cup winning
I mean,
captain
it took an
over
Irish
there.
lad to win them a World Cup.
Yeah, so and he played in the World Cup for Ireland as well, which went on to
Yeah,
defeat
yeah,
Pakistan in
absolutely.
2007. So,
yeah,
so there are some good stories with Ireland. Uh, Pakistan win due to their fast bowlers. Oh, we got a question there. Uh, they asked, can Pakistan win due to fast bowlers? That's what Aisha has asked. Like,
You know, I would
nothing.
say yes if you were to ask me. I mean, if they have to win, and I think that's what Pakistan's been doing as well. If you go to the Tri Series as well, that is just concluded, they won because of their bowling. Specifically, I would say their bowling. Although in the last match in the finals, it was really nice to see. You know, the fact that Babar and Rizwan did not play as long as they would have liked, and still
see, Mohammad
Pakistan
Rizwan
Pakistani batsmen.
has come as a like sort of a fresh air for them because he's coming in at number 4 and finishing games for Pakistan, which is something
Correct. And it
you
was
don't
nice to
expect
see
somebody like
that
a Mohammad
happen
Nawaz.
for them
Yeah,
against New Zealand in their home ground. It was disappointing from New Zealand that they ended up at 163, but that was because of how well Pakistan balled. So
New
if
Zealand actually did not get going in the death overs at all. They were,
yeah, and
I
that's
think,
because
157.
that's because of the
Yeah,
way Harris Roth, Mohammad Wasim, those
definitely.
lads balled. It was
And
brilliant
also,
to see.
New Zealand did not have enough wickets at the back end to sort of get going because the
Yeah,
players
yeah.
were finding it very difficult to go like attack the bowlers right from ball one. And then Jimmy Nisham and players like the lower middle order did not have much of a time to sort of get going. But good signs for Kane Williamson finally and half century and an attacking half century.
Yeah,
Half
it was a
century.
very good half century.
Yeah, the approach.
It was just
I'm
smooth
very impressed with the
flowing.
approach. The
Yeah,
six that he hit
correct.
over covers was brilliant. I mean, that is
Yeah.
the Kane Williamson that New Zealand and the entire world would love to see.
And I think to be fair, New Zealand would be glad they lost the Bangladesh Tri Series, but they were able to get Kane Williamson back in form, or at least a half century from Kane Williamson. So I think New Zealand will be like fine with it. But it was
Yeah,
nice
that's
to
a
see that
trade that they
happening.
would
I
take
think
because
if
he is one of
Pakistan
their
do want to
prime batsmen. Yeah,
if
Yeah,
Pakistan do want to
absolutely.
win, I think they'll have to depend a lot on the way their fast bowlers go. Because the way, as of now, at least, you know, what we've seen from them in the Tri Series, they seem to be the ones leading the way. And I think whenever the fast bowlers bowled well, they were able to do well. And that's classic Pakistani formula as
Yeah,
well
absolutely.
to win tournaments. So it's going to be
Absolutely. Yeah.
interesting on 23rd.
But Australia's a different conditions altogether. New Zealand, I told
Yeah,
you earlier as well.
I think we're gonna get a better picture in the practice matches. That's
Yeah.
probably where these fast bowlers will be tested.
And they're playing Gabba the first practice match against England. That's where
Yeah,
you're going to be tested. If Markwood is going to be put out, how far? Because Nawaz is very good against spin, but now they know that you're not going to ball spin to him, so they're going to attack him with the short pitch bowling, and it's going to be much quicker. So that's a weakness right there for Pakistan. We know they've already been tested with pitch bowling by England in Pakistan, so they know a thing or two about where to ball. And Atul has rightly mentioned about fielding because fielding is going to be a key. And with a lot of these underdog nations, fielding is an issue with them as well. Some teams really do field their way out, but dropping catches, how far can it cost matches? Because dropping or misfielding in crucial junctures in Australia is going to really cost you big games, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for that, all you need to see is the second, I mean, T20 versus England and Australia. The way the misses that Australia did in their fielding, Tim David, and I mean, I don't remember all the culprits, but all there were three catches dropped, and those catches really cost Australia. And they ended up having too much to chase down on a track that was becoming a bit difficult to bat towards the end because of the bounce, the steep bounce that Australian batsmen faced. So I think, I mean, and it's going to be very important in these kind of conditions, because I think, and I'll be putting it out there, more than catching, it's going to be very difficult to. It's going to be the run, stopping the running between the wickets, because in the bigger grounds that you see in Australia, like Gabba, for example, you would see that the batsman will be trying to get those twos and doubles, especially teams like India, because India, Virat Kohli, Suryakumar Yadav, these players are very quick between the wickets. And not only are they going to look for boundaries, they're also going to try and rotate the strike. And we know how Australia can be a place where a lot of tools available. So you need to be on your toes, especially the
Yeah.
boundary riders,
And then
because they
twos are
really
going to be more
ball
likely than
like.
singles, and twos will be converted into threes when you see the
Yes.
other ground. So that's how it is going to be in Australia. But Shivani has asked how is Zimbabwe's chances, and she's also asked how is Namibia. I mean, she means Namibia for sure.
Yeah.
So
Let's
Starting
just
with
talk
Z-
about
Zimbabwe, I think West
Zimbabwe.
Indies is a clear favorite from that group to
Zimbabwe, sorry.
qualify.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
have
that's right.
Zimbabwe, Ireland, and Scotland, and only one of the three is going to qualify. So Scotland will probably be the underdogs in that in that field. I expect either of Zimbabwe or Ireland to qualify. The game between Zimbabwe versus Ireland is going to be the deciding factor for me to see who like qualifies along with West Indies into the Super 12s.
Interesting. I mean, that's going to be very interesting to be honest. Who really qualifies from that group, because that group is going to be a very competitive group for a lot of reasons. Because Ireland, Zimbabwe, Scotland, because these three teams can really give each other a run for the money. Before we go to next team, uh, we'll talk about Sri Lanka. I don't have the squad with me right now, but let's talk about Sri Lanka, the Asian champions, yet to qualify for the World Cup. Uh, One of the favorites actually, to make it to the next round for sure. But from the next round, if they make it, how are the chances to make it to the top four? Because they are going to go into a group, if they make it to the top, into the Super 12s, in a group which has got England, which has got Australia, which has got New Zealand, and alongside Afghanistan, they'll be making it to that group as well. Not an easy group, tough group for anybody to walk into. How do you see the Sri Lankan team? Because this team is a team who's riding high on confidence. They had a very good warm game with Zimbabwe as well. Jen,
There's a
you can answer
question.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sri Lanka is obviously coming into this tournament with high on confidence, and that's something that will really help them out, because I think that is basically what you need in a tournament, where you need to believe in yourself, and you need to know that you're going to be able to tackle any problem, any obstacle that you face on the field in these kind of tournaments. But that being said, Australia will be a very difficult. It's going to be a different kettle of tea, and that's something that is probably the theme of our analysis when it comes to this when it comes to this World Cup, right? Because it's going to be so difficult for teams that are not used to playing in Australia to come and play in Australia. And Sri Lanka is going to be definitely one of them, because I think their strength really lies in this when it comes to their bowling, and I'll be more specific when it comes to the spinners, that is Tikshana and Harsaranga. Those are going to be your most important players for Sri Lanka, and that though having those two in your team is the reason why I feel they're gonna coast through the group stage, because looking at the group, they have Netherlands, Namibia. Except for UAE, I don't think Namibia and Netherlands will will struggle against quality spin, and what both Vanidhu Hasaranga and Tikshana bring to the table is that they bring quality spin, they bring unpredictability. So it's not going to be easy for those two teams to pick, and those two teams are the teams who are going to challenge Sri Lanka the most, right? So I think that being said, Sri Lanka should coast easily, but the challenge will really begin when they top the group and they enter into this conundrum of sorts. I think, if I'll be honest here, I think being very frank, I think they will want to top group one, because they would rather face England, New Zealand, who will still struggle in comparison to maybe India or Pakistan. In the other group, I feel India, Pakistan will be able to play Asranga and Tikshana a lot better than England and New Zealand will. But that being said, because it's Australia, these spin conditions are, I mean, the conditions are going to neutralize the spin, or at least to the extent that they were potent in UAE. So these are going to be the difficult tasks. And also the death bowling, again, is going to really impact them. Is I think the death bowling again is something that we saw when it came to West Indies. They rely on cutters, they rely on slower deliveries, and not a lot of bowlers who can ball those Yorkers. But Dushmanta Chamira is back in the squad, and especially Dushmanta Chamira, because he is someone who will really bank upon to get in the wickets or to ball those difficult overs. So he is probably that. These are probably the three players that will really hope come good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, for Sri Lanka, though they're riding high on confidence from Asia Cup in UAE, but Australia's going to be different kettle of fish or different ball game altogether. Leader Shuri is going to lead the Black Army. Australia will play semi-final and may win. Rob Key has come back again. So Rob Key says Leader Shuri is going to lead the Black Army from Zimbabwe. I'm pretty sure Leader Shuri is going to lead the Black Army. But
Also,
talking
I think
about that,
Rocky should be really careful of what he comments in a public platform.
I bet Sky Sports used to give him that. Now he's not getting the job there.
Okay,
He's
getting back to the Sri Lankan team, because I think we'll, if we talk about Shuri and the yeah, whatever. So yeah, I think Sri Lanka's main weapon, right, like Jaren mentioned, will be their spin bowling. But I don't know, it is going to be very effective against the against Namibia, Netherlands, and probably UAE as well. But when it comes to teams like England, Australia, in Australian conditions, we have seen that Wanindu Hasaranga over like in the Asia Cup, he was really struggling to sort of contain the batsman. He's a wicket taking option, but he goes for runs. He has been going for runs. I think the players are eventually starting to pick him, and in pitches and in conditions where there will be very little assistance for the spinners, Wanindu Hasaranga is going to struggle. I think Thikshana will find it a bit easier, because he's a wicket to wicket kind of a bowler, and if players are trying to go after the bowling, he'll be very effective over there. But when it comes to Wanindu Hasaranga, I think he will find it a bit difficult in the Super 12s when they go up against New Zealand, Australia, and England, because all these teams are going to come hard against players like Wanindu Hasaranga, and they're not going to play him off. You'll probably see some of the weaker teams, probably Namibia, Netherlands, they decide to play off Wanindu Hasaranga and not give him any wickets. But when it comes to Australia, England, and New Zealand, it's going to be very difficult. And talking about the batting, I think it has seen a lot of stability in
yeah,
the recent past, with Kushal Mendes coming in opening the
yeah.
innings. It will be very interesting to see
Yeah, I mean, let's
whether
talk about their
they,
first game because they're going to be playing tomorrow morning itself because that's
yeah.
their first game. They're going to be up against a Namibian team. A Namibian team has got a very good team. They've got good fast bowling there. They've got David Visa, who's been doing very well for them.
And
They've got
I'm more interested to see somebody like a Jan Freiling, because he bowls
Yeah,
in the death overs with some of the bigger grounds. He's going to find it very he'll love bowling in this sort of
yeah.
conditions,
Jan
because he
Freiling is
has
going
a
to be
great
one thing to watch
Yorker.
out.
He has a great change of pace. The variations are really good. So Jan Freiling will really sort of look to get a lot of wickets over here. And I think also David Visa has been their player, has been their marquee player for quite some time, and he was instrumental in them qualifying into the Super 12s in the last season. In the first stint in the World Cup, Namibia had a great season. They have the captain Erasmus, although I think that he needs to work on his strike rate with the bat. But still, he is a very good option as well. And I think where Namibia will really excel is their all-round department. They really
Yeah.
bank on their all-round department to do the job for
Mm,
them.
mm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. But talking about Sri Lanka, I really feel they have the talent in them. They have the sort of players with Dushmanta Chamira coming back into the side. I think this side will be more confident than it was in the Asia Cup. Even though they went on to win the Asia Cup, they were not really confident over there. But right now, I think they actually are on a better space. And with Chamira coming in, it is going to sort of positively influence the team to do better. Having said all that thing, I don't really see Sri Lanka going beyond the group stage, because it is going to be very difficult. Like we spoke about West Indies, they'll have to upset And I'll use the term upset. They'll have to upset England or Australia, because when you compare the teams on paper, some of the Sri Lankan batters have not had a very good record in Australia. They really
Mm.
struggle to sort of play Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins, Hazelwood. They really find it difficult to get going. Uh, Pathum Nisanka is a player who was very consistent in Sri Lanka's last tour of Australia, where Australia did not even field their strongest lineup, and Sri Lanka were playing their full strength squad, and they lost the series 5-0. So
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, for Sri Lanka, it's never been a happy hunting place. Sri Lanka have always struggled in
yeah.
Australia,
Australia is going
regardless
to
of the
be a different
format.
ballgame altogether.
And they are the Asian champion. They did extremely well in Asia Cup. Asia Cup is a tournament which had 4 to 5 teams who really went up against each other. But World Cup situation is different. The conditions are so different. They really need to get the wins under the belt. First, they have to qualify. Then to come up against the big giants are never going to be easy. England is going to be a tough task for them from that group. Someone says, what about Divan Lacock? Divan Lacock is another player, wicketkeeper batter from Namibia, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
I like his name for sure. So,
I'm
yeah,
sure Scott likes his name too.
yeah. So,
But I think he played in the under 19 side for Namibia, and then he was in the Namibia A team for quite some time. But he hasn't played too many international games as of now. They'll definitely be happy to have a batter who can sort of, but with Namibia and their batting, I think they'll need to up the ante, because they have a lot of players who sort of play in that strike rate of in between 100 to 120, 130. And apart from somebody like a David Wiese who can come in and take the game away, they don't really have that X factor player within
okay.
the team.
I'm not taking that question. But yeah, जरन भैया पीछे चुड़ैल हाँ तो है पीछे चुड़ैल. Let's talk about this team. As we
As
already covered
in,
about Sri Lanka, Dasun Shanaka has been one name which we have all been praising for the longest period of time. He's done extremely well. You know, he captained his team to the final, made them win because of his tactical decisions. Now, yet another tournament for him where he's going to be given that opportunity to finish games. Done great as a finisher so far in this tournament as well. So, whatever tournaments he's played done as great as a finisher, and a huge responsibility on his shoulder to take the team there. How do you see him? How vital a factor is going to be Dasun Shanaka in this tournament, Jared?
very important because we've seen what he can do as a leader. He's an incredible leader and he's led this Sri Lankan team out of the oblivion of sorts. They've at least become a T20 specialist team. I think we can call them that now. I mean, I won't say that they will be the best team or they are one of the best, but at least as it stands right now, they are a T20 specialist team. They're kind of like the West Indies of, kind of like West Indies. They are how they are right now. They have a long way to go in tests and 1 days, but it looks good. And also, Darshan Chanaka has a pretty good record. I mean, he's got an average of 13 Australia, and with the ball as well, he's got a very good average with the ball as well. So I think he's got an average of 18 with the ball. So this is incredible
Yeah, but
figures.
he struggles with his economy. I think economy rate is a
Yeah, I
concern for
think
him, because
But
he
you
takes
he's
know,
all those
with Dasun
critical
Shanaka is
overs.
like a Shardul Thakur kind of a ball. He comes and
yeah, he
does
is
things.
exactly. I think that's the best way to
Also, like
describe
I
him.
think a Thisara Pereira kind of a bowler, but
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Thisara Pereira never used to pick up wickets. He used to come in and go for plenty of runs at the
No,
death.
he used to
He used
pick
to
up
bowl all
wickets.
those critical overs. I
I
think
mean, I
that is where
think
I
Tisarapur is an
yeah.
underrated all rounder. He's such
Yeah,
a good
very
all rounder.
underrated all rounder. But one thing that I really loved about Thisara Pereira was that even though he used to go for a lot of runs bowling in the death overs, he used to take the responsibility and
Yeah.
bowl all those critical overs, which probably most of the players will find it very difficult to bowl. And that is something I think even Shanaka follows. Dasun Shanaka sometimes comes in and bowls the 17th, 18th, 19th over, and he sort
Mm,
of leads the team from the front. But honestly, I feel what has been going, the great success that Sri Lanka have been having is only because of the presence of Danushka Gunatilaka in the team. At number 3, he's the lucky charm. Comes
yeah.
in, does not do too much with
He
the
We
bat
scored
cannot,
or on
he
the
we cannot,
scored
field.
he scored
we cannot
15 of 17 balls against Zimbabwe. He did a decent handy knock there. Stable knock.
I think we cannot
Better than
speak
expected
about
from him.
Sri Lanka. Oh God,
I mean,
without having talking about big hit.
every time he says about he's a lucky charm because of him, because of him they went on to win the Asia Cup. And I think this is a tournament for the Gunatilaka to come good. I think he's going to light the stage on
I
fire.
thought
But I think
Asia Cup
it's
was the
nice, I
tournament
would say
where
that
Gunatilaka was actually going to come good for them, because he was like not given the responsibility of opening the innings for the team. He used to come in at number 3, number 4 with not too much pressure on him to perform, because the openers were getting Sri Lanka off to a great start more often than not. But then again, with I think the only 30s he scored in 2 games. He scored in the 30s, and in one of those games he was dropped thrice. So I think there is something with the Sri Lankan management and Gunatilaka, because they know that he's the lucky charm. So might as well play him.
As Rob Key
I
says,
mean,
what if he's doing the Budu?
but I mean, this, being said that, having said that, Dinesh Chandimal has got a very good record in comparison to the Sri Lankan players. When it comes, I mean, when I
Yeah.
say that, that is my next point. When I am leading to my next point, the fact that Dinesh Chandimal has got a decent record in Australia in comparison to other Sri Lankan players. But that being said, their average has, I mean, their strike rate hasn't been that good. Although I mean, they are not even crossing 130s, but then this is statistics from Sri Lanka of the old, because the Sri Lanka right now at
But
least are looking
Erin,
much more settled.
don't you think this is the same template that Pakistan is following? Because they don't have any experience in the middle order. If you consider even
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
Sri Lankan batting, there is
But you know
Rajapaksa,
what?
all these
You know
ex-cricket players,
what? There
Asalanka,
is
And I think,
more
Rajapaksa.
explosivity in Sri Lankan middle order
Yeah,
than in
yeah,
Pakistan.
and
yeah, but I think they
I
lack
wouldn't
a proper
agree to
batsman, a
the.
proper middle order batsman who is experienced, like like Pakistan. They don't have an
Yeah, but
experienced
then
middle order batsman.
you see, I think Sandhimani, what they do is they cover up for it by just having all their batters score 30 of 20, and that
But
kind of
that is
just.
Yeah.
when all the batters are in a good sort of
Yeah, that
good
true,
form.
true.
But when
And
even if one of them fails to click, that Sri Lankan team will crumble, because you'll have 30 runs less than
Yeah.
what they managed to score with
fair
all
enough,
those
and
30.
that's where they've struggled as well. I think the moment the Sri Lankan team isn't a batting deep team anyway, because you realize, I mean, when you see, I think I'll take this question as well right after this, what I have to say. But then I think Sri Lankan batsmen have really struggled in terms of getting going in T20. That's what their stats show for a long time. But what we did see in Asia Cup, and again, I say this again and again, because Asia Cup was in UAE, you're not going to probably see the same level of cricket from Sri Lanka here. They're probably going to struggle a lot because the ball's going to come a lot quicker. Fast bowlers are going to be more effective. But that being said, what we saw in Asia Cup was a breath of fresh air, because we saw batsmen ready to play a lot more, being a lot more adventurous. We saw all the batters whom we criticize of having less than 130 strike rate try and up it to 150 at least. So that is something that is good. But there will be days when this Sri Lankan team will crumble, because there's a chance that the house of cards sort of is
We
what I would
actually
call
got a
the
stats in the
batting
last
lineup.
live. We actually got a stats in the last live where we saw all the subcontinent teams apart from India actually struggle in Australia with the
Yeah.
bat,
Correct, correct. Yeah.
with
Because
the strike
it's a
rate.
real fact. Because unlike England or anywhere, when it comes to even white ball format, Australia is a different ball game. Even South Africa, I can say in the white ball format is slightly better, but when it comes to Australia, the ball comes onto the bat much quicker, especially in pitches like Gabba and in Perth. So that's where these the Asian teams have struggled big time. It's not going to be easy because they do not have a Sangakkara or a Jayawardene as well. Who have been
Hmm.
doing really well in Australian conditions. I think for many of these players, it's the first time ever in Australia as well. So it's not going to be an easy hunting time for Sri Lanka, though we rate them highly as a team. They've been gelling pretty well. But at the end of the day, it's about them really making it. And don't be
Yeah.
surprised if they don't even make it to the Super 12s. It's not going to be an easy road for them.
I mean, I think they will make it to the Super
Yeah,
12s.
yeah. I think
It's
Super
just
12
unlikely
is
because,
easier
I
route.
mean, even, I think the reason for that particularly is, as I mentioned, because they've got two teams who are not very good at playing quality spin, and that's where Sri Lanka's strength is. I think if you beat the Sri Lankan team, you have to nullify the threat of Harsaranga and Tikshana. If you can do that, I think neither does their batting have the power to chase down a two. I think, unlike West Indies, West Indies, you can still expect them to chase down a 240 on one of those days. But I think Sri Lanka, at least from the history, we haven't seen them do that for quite some time, let alone do that in Australia. So I think if you nullify their spinners, even if you're not to score a lot of runs against them, just score at 7 runs per over, not give them any wickets, I think Sri Lanka will be in a lot of trouble. And that is something that I don't think the associate nations will be able to muster. So I think they will be
Mm,
able to get through into the Super 12 easily. But there in
absolutely.
Super 12, they will definitely struggle.
Very good
Absolutely.
point. Yeah.
And Sean Lukacs has asked, who's got the best kit of this year's World Cup? I think that's what he's
Sri
asking for.
Lanka.
Which team has got the best? I think Sri Lanka has got the best kit.
Sri
I
Lanka's got
have
an
to say.
absolute banger of a kit. And that's the reason why I want to see them play a lot more. Just
Yes,
for
that's
that
why.
reason.
Yeah, maybe Sri Lanka's got the best kid. I really don't mind saying the West Indies kid is not bad, but Sri Lanka at number one. Namibia is a very good kid. And I don't associate these stuff got better kids than the teams who are playing in Super 12s, to be very honest. So I think I have to say them. Scotland always pulls up with a very good kid. So
Yeah.
I think
And
Sri
I love
Lanka
the
number
ball
one.
combination they come up with as well. I
Yeah,
think
and last time it was
Violet.
designed by a 12-year-old, if I'm not wrong. That's what we got to know last World Cup, the kid they used. But this time around, I'm pretty sure they're coming out. They got a banger of a kid as well from what I saw today. Sri Lanka got two kids. They've got a home and away kid. Pakistan, Danish Canada said they look like fruit ninjas. So I'd like to stick with.
God.
But yeah, I have to say
Yeah, I think
Pakistan
Aisha's
got
got
a
it spot
decent.
on. Watermelon. Yeah.
Pakistan has got like watermelon. Yeah. संजीवनी तुम कितनी पनौती हो
I
जब
mean, I think if this is probably me delving into something I have no knowledge about, but I feel if Pakistan had light green instead of the pale green that they have, I think it would have looked much better. Now from what I've seen so far in the two series, I did not like their kit at all.
No, Pakistan also have got two kids, and today what I saw in the photo shoot also it does look like watermelon for real. But let's talk about another team, a team from the United Arab Emirates. They've had a good run to the tournament. I know why there's a lot of laughter already, but they're a team which has got they've got potential to make it to the next round as well. It is led by Rizwan, but then one player who's already made the name is Ritya Aravind. He's been in very good form.
Yeah,
He's there on our screen. Chirag Suri is another player to watch out for. Wasim is another player. How do you see this team? Because they're going to be up against Netherlands tomorrow, the United Arab Emirates. As I mentioned, if Ritya Aravind has got his aces right, if United Arab Emirates has to do well, Ritya Aravind has to have a really good tournament. And he's a wicketkeeper batter. He's a vice captain as well for this tournament, alongside Chirag Suri. Chirag Suri is another player who they've really banged upon, especially opening the batting. They came close against West Indies and also against Bangladesh. Two close games where they lost. So a team to really
also
watch
I
out
think
for, isn't it?
yeah, I mean they've got a mystery spinner in Karthik Mayappan.
Karthik Mayappan, yeah.
He's got
I've
an
been very fortunate
amazing.
to play alongside him and play with him for a long time. So, excellent spinner. I'll say tough to pick his googly, man. Tough to pick his googly. Yeah,
Yeah, I think Abel
yeah,
can then say much better about him. I mean, he's got a very good strike, very good average, 15.3, and he's got 17 wickets in 11 matches. That is just scary. And if he can even, bring in half the impact that he's done, again, I mean, as I've been saying, he's going to, I mean, UAE is in a group where you have Namibia and Netherlands, two teams which are known to have spin as their nemesis. He could really surprise them. And
yeah,
especially, I think Netherlands have got a weaker batting lineup in comparison to Namibia, because Namibia, you can still say, you can argue with Jan Freilich and David Wiese. They've got some experience, but Netherlands is a very young batting lineup, very young batting lineup, and some of the biggest stars are missing. So also kudos, UAE has had some trouble with the cricket in the past few years, and they lost a few players as well. They've really come back. They've at least started to rebuild the squad. So it's just good to see them back in a tournament, because I think this team has, I'll be very honest. If nothing, this team has got the facilities to do really well, because they brush their shoulder. I mean, they've got facilities that are used by the world's best. The ICC Academy, I think that's what it's called. He will
yeah.
might
I
be able
see
to tell
academy.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
and they've
see.
got some really good, they've got some really good facilities there. And I think in the long term, you might see UAE become a very good team, because the government there is really investing in sports, and cricket is on their, on the horizon. So I think maybe give them 10 to 15 years, you'll see this team become really good, because they're going to invest a lot. And
They're already seeing some good
mark
players,
my
and
words, I think
they're already
that
seeing good players.
the
If they can
ILT.
really help with the leagues as well. Now the Emirates
Yeah,
T20
and
league is going
the
to be a lot
ILT, the
good for them.
International League T20, and that's what it's called, is going to be a very good league for all these players, because these players are going to get chances to, it's going to be sort of an IPL for UAE. I'm not saying it's going to be successful to that extent, because, the monopoly of IPL is obviously going to stay there. But that being said, UAE has got a lot of potential to grow. And I
But
wouldn't
it
be
was a
surprised
very
if,
surprising decision to think that only one UAE player was made to be mandatory per team in the playing 11. They could have had
Yeah,
at
I
least two
mean,
or three
I
UAE
think that is,
players.
Sandivani, for me, what I felt is that's because they want viewership, because they're going to be competing with South Africa T20, and that's the only reason I see that happening. But then, yeah, you're
But
right.
then you
To an extent, that is kind of
will
a
your own
come on.
T20 league, your home T20 league should
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least boast of your own players, right?
I think
Even your own players can bring
yeah,
in the heat.
correct, correct,
But
correct.
I think that will change very soon and very quickly.
That should
It
change
should
very
change
soon.
very soon. At least
Yeah.
3 to 4 players should be from
Maybe I
You
think
also
UAE.
it's
saw it
probably.
with the T10 league as well. Some of the UAE players already featured in the T10 league and also in Canadian league, if I'm not wrong. Some of the
Yeah.
UAE players got to feature there, so they've rubbed shoulders with the big names. It's really something like a Chirag Suri. He's played in the T10 league. He's played in the Canadian league, so he's got the experience. He's played against some of the
And
top
Chirag
quality
Suri
bowling.
has been, if I'm not wrong, he has been quite consistent in the Canadian league as well. He has been getting some consistent. He has been scoring runs consistently over there.
Absolutely, and I think he's going to hold aces for them as well for this tournament. But how far do you see them go? That's the question, right? They've got a decent squad. Can they make it to the Super 12? I think that Super 12 is going to be the biggest aim at this point. Not really making it to the top four or
Hmm.
anything. Super 12 is going to be their temporary goal. Now they are, and firstly it was to make it to the World Cup. Now they made it to the World Cup. Super 12s is a dream run for them, isn't it?
It's
Yeah,
gonna
it's
be not
going to
easy for
be.
him. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's going to be very difficult because even though Netherlands they don't have some of the big stars, but you still have Tom Cooper, you still have Roloff Van der Merwe, you have
Yeah,
players like
Rudolf
Max Odoud.
Vandermeer. Who remembers him? He's
He
played
has
for South
played.
Africa. He played for
He's
South
played for
Africa.
South Africa. He
Ah,
has been a star for the Netherlands team as well. And also, I am very excited to see somebody like a Max Odoud and Vikramjit Singh at the top of the order for Netherlands because they have
yeah,
the batting. I think Netherlands have a stronger batting lineup than their bowling lineup.
yeah,
Uh, but when it comes to Namibia, I
And
think they have a more balanced sort of a squad. They have equal depth in the bowling as well, with Jan Freiling and David Wiese coming in. I think that is a more balanced squad than Netherlands. But having said that, UAE is probably still on paper they are the weakest of the four. So it is
yeah.
going to be a surprise if they sort of make it to the Super 12.
Yeah, Mokshit has asked, will you be live? We're going to be live every day from tomorrow until the end of the World Cup. Tomorrow onwards, we're going to be live every
Abel
day
is
till the
gonna
end of the
have
World
Abel is going to be doing live straight from the examination hall as well.
No, no, no. I think I'll be right just in time after the match. I should be able to get some, at least ask the examiner to post, live telecast the match. If they don't do, it's anti-nationalism, man. This is the epitome of anti-nationalism for me if they don't live telecast the match. But jokes apart, to be very honest, we'll be going live every day, 2 times live. One to do the review of all the games and one to do a preview fantasy picks. Now, this is where we're going to make it more interesting for you guys. Every day night at 11:30 onwards or 11 onwards, we're going to do preview of fantasy picks for the games for the next day from Super 12s, but review of every games from the group stage till the end of the World Cup. We're going to be there live at 7 or 8 in the evening, talking about every game in depth. So it starts from tomorrow. Get ready. The World Cup is officially beginning, and this is it. But do you guys notice this World Cup does not have a theme song and an anthem?
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean that is
So
just
this is the
incredible.
so Jaren is going to sing a song, and that's going to be a theme song for the World Cup.
Yeah, I think that's a very good job Abel trying to pull that off. But unfortunately, I don't have much of a singing talent. So I mean, you guys are not gonna see me sing. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
No, but
Absolutely.
when it comes to theme
Yeah,
songs
Abel,
and
what do you do?
yeah,
I mean, I think Abel, this is the chance for you to shine.
yeah,
I think
What do
exactly.
I
Abel,
do? See,
Abel is an incredible
I
singer.
am, I'm not a singer.
Every day, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, we can hear him sing. Uh,
See, guys, I've been sick over the last 3 days. I've been down with very bad cough and fever, so
I mean,
I'm just
I also
recovering.
believe since the World Cup is beginning tomorrow, Abel will be releasing the
Uh,
song. Probably
yeah,
we'll have a boomer. We'll have the first video of Boomer, which is not a live, where Abel will be just Abel singing a
Yeah,
song.
we've had videos which were not live, but we don't have any viewership on that. There are no
yeah.
views on those videos.
But that's because they did not feature Abel. Now we will be having
Oh,
Abel releasing
I was a
Boomer
feature
level
on that.
anthem. Oh, is it? Then probably it's
Yeah.
because you didn't sing. So I think this is probably the moment.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think once
So
Abel
I think
I'll
this
just
is
sings,
an
answer it in
experimentation
real thing. Aisha is
try.
asking, what do I do? I'm a law student, Aisha. So I have an exam on 23rd. That's why you might be wondering why I'm not available on 23rd. But yeah, we'll try to watch alongs. So a special edition what we're going to bring for the World Cup is a watch along. So last time we wanted to watch along. I think it's going to bring a lot of interest. I know some of the games are going to be early in the morning as well. If I wake up on time, I'll definitely do a watch along. But
But will we have
because,
any view? Like, will people tune in on
so guys,
weekdays in the morning?
comment
Yeah,
down
comment
now,
in the comment
comment
section
down
if
now.
you guys want a watch along with us. If so,
Yeah.
we are ready. We are definitely
Because
pumped for it.
anyway we are going to see the game, so it won't be much of an issue
I
for us
think it's
coming
time
live
for
and
you
doing
guys
the
to
watch along.
prove the skeptic and Sandivani wrong.
Yeah, but the thing is, if we are coming in live and it's just the three of us commentating on the game and we don't have any views, so that does not really make sense to
So
sort of
yeah,
come
we
and
are looking for
do
high
watch along, right?
views. See, this is the opportunity, guys. We already hit 2,000 subscribers over the last month. Now this is the opportunity to get that level to 5,000 or 10,000 to the close of the World Cup. So that's all I'm demanding, you guys. If you've already not subscribed, subscribe to the channel right away, because they'll be a part of the family where we're going to talk a lot of fun stuff, pull each other's leg, and do watch alongs. I mean, we're going to give live commentary. I know there's a lot of sickening commentators out there. You can get better commentary from us, ball by ball. Uh, Jaren is a very good commentator. He commentates for all the college matches. He's going to commentate like that. So I think there's a hidden talent in him. We've got Gaurav Pandit to say Aisha. Okay, there's a banter going on there. I'm not going to get into that.
Well, that's India
So
versus Pakistan, so
that's
obviously we
England
can.
versus Pakistan, not India versus
Sorry,
Pakistan.
England. My bad. I always mistake God of for India versus Pakistan. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
England versus Pakistan. So this is basically the first practice match going on right here.
yeah. It's a warm up match going on already. But yeah, let's go ahead talk about the teams once again. UAE is one team which we were talking about before we moved on. So you people say UAE cannot make it to the Super 12s, right?
Yeah, I think
We think it is
me
going
and
to be
Abel have a
very
running bet.
unlikely.
Me and Abel have a running bet that UA is gonna make into the group stage. I mean into
Super 12s.
the Super 12. Thank you, Sandhimani. Let's see how where that goes into. But I mean, I really don't think so. I think it's just UAE bias of Abel really factoring into it. I'll be happy for him as well, but I really don't
Yeah.
see this team right now. I think they don't have the exposure to make it into the
Yeah.
Super 12, and for
I
that,
think probably 5 years down the line, if you ask me, then if they're competing with Namibia and Netherlands, I
If
would say
UAE makes the
yeah,
probably.
Super 12, I'll sing.
oh, I think so. Then that's
Yeah,
guaranteed.
yeah.
Then
So that's motivation enough for the entire UAE team to sort of do well in the World Cup.
I'll definitely message Karthik Mayappan tonight asking, this is the thing. If you want to listen to me sing, make it to the Super 12. But
If
regardless of this,
possible, can we have one of those players, one of the UAE
yeah,
players
I
coming in,
mean, and
joining us?
definitely, but not during the World Cup at least. Let's just leave them alone for the World Cup. Let them have a good time.
No,
I
like
think,
post World Cup, we can have some sort of interviews or
yeah,
something
we can
like that.
definitely have them, maybe hopefully on the interview. Just putting the squad once again. I think this team has gotten them to make it to the Super 12, but it's going to be a huge stage. World Cup pressure is always a World Cup pressure. Never
Yeah.
easy. Conditions are going to be very different. Australian conditions, unlike UAE, and we didn't mention they've got the best practice facilities in ICC academies to do well. But still, the
Yeah.
World Cup against quality opposition, they're going to be up against Netherlands tomorrow. Let's do a preview of that game, because Sandeep, you already mentioned about Netherlands, a good team to, but then how is it going to be for them if they get a win tomorrow? They're going to be up on confidence. Same thing for UAE as well. First game is always going to be important, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think if somehow UAE manages to beat Netherlands, that is going to send a huge message. And I think then the game against Namibia will be very very interesting to see, because I think if UAE has a chance to beat any team in this league, it has to be Netherlands, because they don't actually have the balance when it comes to both the bowling and batting department. And you can compare the Netherlands team to the UAE team in the point that both the teams are quite new. Almost all the players are very inexperienced, very new. And we have, like Jaren mentioned, a lot of senior players from the Netherlands team were finally sort of excluded from the side. But we also had the returns of Van der Merwe, and Tom Cooper was always there in the side. So there are some star players, some key players, but then again UAE can generate some key players, star players of their own. Like, I won't be surprised if they have a Namibia sort of a run, like what sort of a run Namibia had in the last World Cup. But then again, they have to beat Namibia and Netherlands, and I think both they have to beat both. They have to win those two games to be in contention to qualify for the Super 12s, because this is a very difficult league, difficult
Absolutely.
group.
I think both the groups are difficult, and that's just how that's the way it is set.
Yeah. Both
And I mean,
the
if there were three teams, I would have still backed UAE if three teams could have gone forward. But because you only have two teams and Sri Lanka is already in that mix, it's not going to be easy for UAE at
it's going
all.
to be very
And
difficult, because
also, what UAE has
potentially
to do
when
is
it
make
comes to
sure,
the
even
teams,
if
yeah.
it's not just
Go
about
ahead.
winning, right? I think UAE will also have to make sure that they win well or they don't lose badly, because net
Yeah.
run rate is going to be very important where you have only four teams in a group stage. So that is the reason why I really find it difficult for UAE to go through.
But
That's right.
But
honestly,
it'll be a
I
great
feel
stage.
Netherlands is more prone to get having those sort of crumbles against Sri Lanka, because as you mentioned, that Netherlands and the Namibian team, they don't really like facing spinners, and Mahesh Theekshana was very effective in T20 World Cup last year as well. I think Mahesh
Yeah.
Theekshana made a name for himself in the group stage last year. He was not effective in the Super 12s. He did not have a very good
Mm.
outing in the Super 12s, but
Yeah.
in the group stage, Mahesh Theekshana, I think, picked up 8 or 7 or 8 wickets in 3 games, and he was no 9 wickets in 3 games, and I think he picked up 2 4 wicket hauls in those 3 games, like
Yeah.
one against Bangladesh, and I think the other
I
one
mean,
was
that's where
against.
someone like Karthik Mayappan also has got an opportunity. If
Yeah,
if
yeah.
he's really
Yeah.
got it in
So
his game.
I definitely feel that Netherlands and UAE are going to be is going to be a very close contest, because both the teams are quite even. I would still, on paper, the Netherlands team still looks more experienced and a bit more stronger. But you never know with the young
I
squad
think
that
it's
UAE
also
has.
about the fact, we always say there's always this factor when it comes to big tournaments. It's always this factor that you've done there, been there, and the kind of, tradition and history, it all plays into it, right? Nothing against UAE, but they've never done well in a ICC tournament. And in fact, their definition of doing well has been to feature in an ICC tournament.
Yeah.
So that being said, Netherlands is at least, Netherlands of the old has been a team which has had some great memories in these tournaments. I know the heroes of the old like Ryan Tendiskate no are not part of the setup anymore, but
Yeah.
these players have grown up watching these players. I mean, have grown up watching the older generation do it, and even
Yeah.
remnants of that generation is there in this team. So that's the reason why I really feel experience comes into picture. Karthik Mayappan is an incredible talent, but again he's a youngster going into the tournament, so it'll be not easy because this team is going to be riding on players like him. So
Yeah.
he having to be, I mean, him and his role being so important and him being such a young talent is not going to be easy. I'm not underrating them. I'm just
I mean,
saying
it's not
that,
gonna be easy. You're
on paper,
absolutely right because
Yeah.
a
it
world
looks
stage.
difficult.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
one player I'm actually very excited to see in the Netherlands team is Maxwell, because I think he has that aggressive
Yeah,
game, which is going to be
correct.
very effective in Australia. And opening the innings for Netherlands, he's going to set the tone for the team. So it will be very interesting to see how he goes against the spinners, because I'm very sure that even Sri Lanka and even probably UAE are going to employ spinners against him early on in the game. And
Yeah.
if he can tackle that, I think he's a good player of fast bowling. And
Mokshit has
the
asked
pitches
a
in
question
Australia are
as
going to suit
well.
him.
Will all 16 teams play the T20 World Cup? See, it's like the 8 teams are gonna
It is
come
a
up.
T20 World Cup has started, right?
Yeah, so you're gonna have 8 teams who are already there now from the Super 12s, but the 4 teams who will make it to the next from the 8 teams who are gonna battle out in the group stage will make it to the 12, and 12 teams will fight out to qualify for semi-final. So 16 teams will feature in the World Cup, but Super 12s will be qualified by the teams who qualify from the group stage. So ultimately, you get the 16 teams will play the World Cup, but ultimately, Super 12s is what is the main part of the competition. You can say it is a main group stage. Then you will have a semi-final, then you will have a final. So I know it's a weird format. I really don't like this. I really wanted all teams to play. That's why you really get tested. I don't know why is there a qualifier after this team's already getting qualified. So that's just
See, the
unfair on
thing
the
is,
team.
with the World Cup that we had, like we, Jarin and me, we had an extensive conversation on this
Yeah,
topic, because
yeah.
I think this actually came into play after the 2015 World Cup, because the teams were so skewed, and in Australian conditions, when some of the stronger teams were taking against the weaker oppositions, the
Yeah.
game was completely being one-sided, and the
Hmm.
viewership was really getting affected. So I think
Yeah.
right now the contest is a lot more balanced, and the two teams that are going to win from their groups and qualify to the Super 12s, they are going to come off good form, and they are going to pose some threat to the stronger teams as well. So I think the format is fine. uh yeah, I would have loved to see all teams play against all teams, but then again you have the risk a lot of games being lopsided, one-sided
One-sided
games. Yeah.
again.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Absolutely.
for me, this is more liberal. This is the most liberal ICC can get with their revenues as well. Because ICC's main revenue stream is when it comes to these tournaments are broadcasting, and at least this way these boards will feature in the World Cup, and from there on it's just going to be up to them to perform and do well. And I think more deeper and the more further they go, anyway, I mean, if for example, let's say Netherlands do so well, they end up in the top four. I think everyone would want to watch how far Netherlands go, regardless of which team your allegiance is to in the
And
start in the
I
first
think the
place.
Asia Cup was so successful because Sri Lanka were the underdog story. They
Yeah.
were the
Yeah,
team who were battered in the first game against Afghanistan to come back from that and eventually beat all the teams, beat India, beat Pakistan, and win the T20 World Cup, T20 Asia Cup. It was a huge thing for them. So I think
Huh.
yeah.
it's always the story of the underdogs. Everybody is excited when Pakistan was beaten by Ireland, or when India was beaten by Bangladesh. We were not happy. The Indians were not happy. The Pakistanis were not happy when Pakistan were beaten by Ireland. But the
Absolutely.
entire world was happy to see some of the
Sri
weaker
Lanka.
teams coming in and, yeah, making a
Yeah.
statement.
I mean, Singapore were very close to qualifying for the tournament as well. I think Kuwait was very close to qualifying for the qualifiers. So I think the underdog stories are going to be coming into the picture a lot more when you see
And it's good for the
success.
sport because
It's good
then
for
the
the sport.
game goes to many more countries. There are more people
Absolutely.
involved, and that's where
So
you want the game
yeah.
to include more countries, right?
And
I
someone
think
like Netherlands has already, somebody has already mentioned, they've had success in world stages. They've defeated teams like England before in a World
yeah.
T20. So they
But
have
you would
tasted
need
success in.
squad not to have overthrows for Netherlands to win games. I think that's the only game
I
that.
mean, yeah, that is another factor add to it. But then they've already always done well in World Cup. Someone like Ryan Tenduscar
Yeah.
in the 2011 World Cup, he had a very
Yeah.
good run there.
He
So
was the
Netherlands,
player of the year in one of the. He was the first associate player from the associate nation to win player of the year in the ODI format. He had an average of close to 70 in 2010 or 2011,
He's one of the
one of those
best.
years.
He's
He was
been
the best batter in across in the
probably
ODI
the best
format.
player to come out of that nation
Yeah,
itself.
definitely. And
I
I
think
think
he's also featured in the
Ryan Tenduscarte
IPL.
was closely followed by Tom Cooper. I think Tom Cooper was more technical than Ryan
Yeah.
Tenduscarte. Ryan Tenduscarte had the game of sort of shifting gears. He could go from gear one to gear five in no
but
time. I think
I
Tom
would
Cooper.
I
Yeah,
would say Ryan Tenduscarte was far above any other player on that team, and that's also
Yeah,
because he
in
yeah,
got a
terms
yeah.
of
lot of counter
impact,
play.
in terms of the game, I think he had that.
But
Ryan
the
Tenduscarte
second
had
best player has to
the
be Tom Cooper. In that team, I think the second best player has to be Tom Cooper, and he has been the second
hmm,
best player for a long time. He has played
Absolutely.
the Big Bash League for quite some time, and I think his addition in the team is going to be very important for Netherlands because he
Absolutely.
has the experience of playing in Australia. I think he even plays for in the Sheffield Shield for
Yeah.
which team does he plays for? I think it's the
You mean his brother Ben Cooper?
no. Tom Cooper plays in
Tom Cooper,
the.
yeah. I think
Tom
he
Cooper
plays
even
for
plays in the Shield as well.
Victoria. I think he plays for Victoria, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
He
probably.
plays for Victoria. But yeah, if I've not mentioned the same, even Pakistan are one of the underdogs for this tournament, though they're not one of the favorites. But with the kind of
and
bowling
dark
they've
horse.
got, they're definitely one of the dark horses. Do well. I think they've got all the chance if they can get their hurdle against South Africa, regardless of the result against India. If they can really win against South Africa, they will be on par to make it to that. If they get the win against India, then it's all about them making it to the semi-final. But if they don't get the win against India, if they get the result against South Africa, they can also make it to the semi-final. And on the day, if they make it to the semi-final, anything can happen because they've got the bowling attack of the likes of Harris Roth, which come off age. Shaheen Afridi, I'm not quite sure about his form because he's coming off an injury. Once a ball is coming off an injury, I do not know if they're rushing him also, but it's not going to be easy for them. I think Sandeep is frozen on the screen, but you know, we will, yeah, we will talk about Pakistan. What do you think their chances are? Because they are a team who can surprise many teams as well.
Yeah, I think Pakistan is that team which is going to be, which is always entering into a World Cup or a tournament. The team that people are always wary about because that they are the team who will do incredibly well on their day, and that's something that we've always said for a long time. They can be one of the best. But again, Australia is not one of their hunting grounds. It's not been an easy. It's not going to be easy for them to do well. That being said, I think I believe what Pakistan really needs to do is make sure that they win against South Africa, because I think against India it's not going to be easy. And I'm going to say the same thing for India as well. It's not going to be easy for India or
Don't you
Pakistan to
think it's
win
one of the
one match.
first ever times India and Pakistan going to start on even level playing field before a match?
For a
Often
long
we've
time,
spoken about
after
India.
a long time, I think 2011 was probably the last time we expected Pakistan to really be a challenge to India.
Yeah.
2015 World Cup, hence 2015 World Cup, India's really been on top. 2013 Champions Trophy, I think, is
Trophy as well.
afterward.
Yeah,
After
it
when
was a
I
one-sided
think
game.
after that, Pakistan has really not challenged India till the T20 World Cup, in the last 20 World Cup,
But I think it's
and
also got to
I
do
think
with the
this
format. If
shows.
it was a 50-over format or a test cricket, I would say India are ahead. But when it comes to this
Yeah,
format, that's
I
also
think
the thing.
I'll agree with you, because the temporal nature of Pakistan kind of helps this format, because Pakistani team has got those X factor players. We've spoken about Mohammad Nawaz, Iftikhar Ahmed, all these players. On their day, you don't really know what they're capable of and how much they can really impact a match, and that's where the Pakistani team is the best. A team where which you don't expect, and unpredictability is what Pakistani team loves about their setup, and that's what this team is entering also, because you've seen two kinds of Pakistan already leading up to this tournament. You've seen the Pakistan who will completely throw away a match, as we saw against the two matches in the last two matches against Asia Cup, but then we also saw Pakistan who will really dominate, or who will really grab the game at the scruff of its neck,
Yeah.
when we saw the Bangladesh tri-series. So we don't know which Pakistan is entering into this T20 World Cup, and
But
that's where the
that's a good thing about Pakistan as well. You really can't
yeah.
take them lightly. But the good thing for Pakistan is that middle order they're trying to find out a kind of a pattern. If there's an offie ball and they're trying to send in Shadab Khan in number 4, if there's a leggy ball and they're trying to send in Nawaz to counter the spin, and in the last series, the Bangladesh twice series, Nawaz had a striker of 265 against spin and
Yeah.
close to 100 against pace. So the only place they're going to really struggle is pace bowling yet again. So teams are going to most likely
And
find
I
out what
think
is
the
the
tracks are
weakness.
going to be a lot faster than what it was in New Zealand. So I
Also,
Yeah,
I
think
mean, I
absolutely.
won't be surprised if teams decide to go, like, especially teams like England, Australia, might just decide to go with, I mean, England especially. England already does it. Australia might just go with one spinner and four fast bowlers,
I mean,
and
and
I
all
one
don't
the
know
more
if they're
reason
going to
why I
play
said
them,
that
but
Adil Rashid with the current form does not deserve a place in that England side, because that
I
is
mean,
such a strong
yeah,
team. And with
yeah.
the
But
form that Adil Rashid
Adil
is in, I'm
Rashid, what
sorry.
he's done for the team and cricket wise, I feel has always been the kind of
But would
sport
you
where there's a
rather
lot of
drop Chris Wokes
sentimentality.
or would you rather drop Adil Rashid? Chris Wokes with the sort of the form that he showed in the third T20I, coming back into the team,
Hmm.
bowling that sort of a line, and
Yeah, and
batters are
that's my
going to
point. I mean, the issue is, but then the issue is it really between Adil Rashid and Chris Wokes then? Because you still need. I mean,
because
I
you
am a
have
spinner,
Reece
that's not
Topley,
biased,
Sam Curran, who
but
are all in great form.
I
Chris Wokes,
mean, I don't think
fast
spin
bowling
is
all
going to be
rounder.
a factor in this kind of a tournament. And of
Yeah, but
course, I
then
think,
I mean, you also have to look into the factor that even though it might not spin as much, it will still be difficult to hit. Bowlers are going to
I mean,
flight the
that's
ball.
why
It's
you
going to be
are going to
difficult
have a
to
Moeen
hit against.
Ali. Moeen Ali is a good enough spinner, even alongside
And they
even Liam
also have
Livingstone
Liam
has done well.
Livingstone, so they have two spinners up their ranks.
I
They
would, I
can.
mean, this is just my opinion. I think I still would say, include Adil Rashid in that lineup, because he's done a lot for the country. And I know he's not had a very good record in Australia, but,
But then he has to
he could
improve
be
his
one of those
line. He has to
players.
improve his approach as well, because he's just bowling
Yeah,
half crickets.
I believe, I think what Adil Rashid is doing for me is he believes not getting a lot of turn of the track. So what he's trying to
Yeah.
do is trying to restrict the amount of runs, mitigate the damage. But
I mean, that's also
one,
to do a lot with
I
his
think.
confidence at this point.
Yeah, and I believe when it comes to Australia, I mean, I've never played in Australia. This is just my opinion. I believe as a spinner, even though you don't have the turn in your favor, what you do have is longer boundary ropes, and it's not going to be easy to hit you anywhere across the boundary rope if you try and flight the ball.
Yeah.
And a spinner is not just is not someone who just turns the ball. Sometimes, and most wickets in Australia, you'll see spinners getting is by beating players on the turn. I mean, on the flight rather than the turn, or when the ball dips and turns. I mean,
Yeah.
dips and
Yeah.
bounces rather. Adam Zampa doesn't turn the ball a lot, but what he does is he beats batsmen on with the
Yeah.
pace, with the flight, and that's something that Adil
That's
Rashid
right.
can do as well.
Mm.
he isn't someone like, I mean, no disrespect to Rashid Khan, but he isn't someone like Rashid Khan who's gonna ball the ball flat and try and deceive the batsman there. I believe his strength is when
But
he
then
tries
Adil
to.
Rashid has been actually successful when he has tried to flight the ball up, but
Yeah,
he's
and
not
I
confident
believe
enough right now.
he does get a lot of wickets with the quicker one, the one that skips off. But that is his variation, and it's only going to help if he keeps it as a variation. If it becomes a stock delivery, it's not going to really help him.
I mean, I also think he's been using his googlies far lesser than what he used to use when he is highly confident,
Hmm.
and batters are really ready to figure him out. And I really don't see what has happened to him. I can't really find a
And
justification if it
I've
is.
noticed, because of the fact that he's bowling this quicker ones a lot more,
And I
batsmen are trying
also
to
think,
play him on the back.
batters are trying to play him out, or maybe at times on days
No,
where
I
he's being
mean,
more.
he
He's
is
going for a
what
lot
I
of
see
runs.
is yeah, I mean, what I see, the batsmen have realized one thing, and this is something that's been an issue with Adil Rashid. Every over, he'll give that one ball which is a half tracker, and you never know when
Yeah.
it's coming. So, what I've
Yeah.
And
seen
then I
Australian
think the
batsmen
the
do is
frequency of those half trackers have been a lot more
yeah,
than
I
it
mean,
was
and
in the
Satyamani, so
past.
what happens is batsmen are playing him on the back foot.
Yeah.
They aren't looking for that front foot anymore. They're waiting on the back foot, waiting for that half tracker. And once the half tracker comes, he gets smashed for a six. Then he has
I,
to
I,
overcompensate by bowling
I
the
like
fuller
the
length
point which
delivery.
Sandipani made as well. He's been bowling a lot more half trackers than what he
Yeah,
used to
so I think
do.
once he gets smashed for that one first six, he tries to, then he's not flighting the ball anymore. He's
Yeah,
trying to ball
yeah,
the quicker one. And as a leg spinner, if you're trying to ball the slider most often than not, you end up with a good length,
yeah.
back of the length area for a spinner, and that again becomes a half tracker. So you just because he's making the batsman. I mean, because he gets kind of demoralized with that 1-6 that he gets hit. I believe he's trying to ball more and more flatter, and because he's bowling flatter, the batsmen are trying to play him on the back foot are easily able to play him off. But if he tries to maybe ball a little more fuller, maybe I think he'll become a little bit more threatening because the lengths are being varying. Batsmen can't set themselves to that back foot delivery, right? So I think that's probably where he should look to do, what he should look to do, and Adil Rashid is an
Yeah, I also
experienced player.
want him to bring a lot more variation in his pace. When Adil
Yeah,
Rashid used to ball well, there was a phase from 2017 to 2020 at least,
correct.
when Adil Rashid was on top of his game until 2021 maybe. But that's where he used to have a lot of variation in his pace, where he usuld to ball from the
I mean, I
lower
also want to
80s
ask
to
you
90s.
guys: do you guys think it's also the effect of Owen Morgan not being part of this team? Because Owen Morgan, I think once he's left, I've kind of seen Adil Rashid struggle a bit more. I'm not saying there's a parallel there,
But that
but
was
there
another
is
thing
some
which Owen Morgan
coincidence.
used to use, right? Owen Morgan used to bring him in the power play. I've seen Adil Rashid being used in the power play a lot more times under
Not just
Owen
in the
Morgan's
power play. I
captain.
think Morgan used to use him in some of the more critical situations,
Yes,
probably in the death
absolutely.
overs as well, 16th
But
over or
Yeah,
17th over.
when he wanted a wicket, it was Adil Rashid who used to come in. And even if
yeah,
he went for a few runs, Morgan was fine as long as he got the wicket.
Butler has been very sort of orthodox with his approach of using
Yeah, and
spinners
that's my
because Moeen
question.
Ali and
I feel
Rashid.
somewhere
Yeah,
maybe even Butler's captaincy is kind of affecting Adil Rashid, or maybe it's the
it can affect
transition period.
it can affect. We also heard that from someone like Chahel and Kuldeep say that when Mahendra Singh Dhoni was behind the wicket, they used to have a better guide to land
Yeah,
where
yeah, it's kind of like
the
a
ball
similar
is landing.
situation.
But Butler's wicket keeping captain already, so that problem shouldn't really come. But the using of these ballers are so important, especially when it comes to someone like Adil Rashid, to give him the confidence to ball the power play. I think Morgan gave him a lot more confidence to give him
exactly.
that ball in those critical overs.
Hmm.
It's okay, you go for runs, but pick me up a couple of wickets. I remember, especially when he came to India in the 2021 series, he used to ball in the power play, he used to pick up wickets of KL Rahul, Virat Kohli. That's where I really thought Adil Rashid was used more effective way, and especially him bowling in the death overs as well. When the team was under the pump, Adil Rashid used to come in and pick up a couple of wickets here and there. So I think there's always a good captain with a good leg spinner. So that's
Yeah.
always been the key. Whenever there
I think,
a leg
and
spinner is under, it's always
spinners
a
in
good.
And I
general,
think
like
another
you
very
need good
interesting point that
captains.
that I actually remembered from the leg spinner point is that all the teams have now been employing a lot of spinners, leg spinners, especially against Virat Kohli up early on in his innings. Because even I don't remember having seen Zampa bowl in the power play till the time India played Australia. Zampa was brought in the second or third over, right
Yeah,
when Virat Kohli came into bat.
yeah.
That is very interesting to
I mean,
see.
I saw that also in the game against Pakistan where Shadab came into ball
Yeah.
when Virat Kohli
And
came into
those
bat.
Shadab also usually bowls after the power plays.
But
Shadab,
I
Zampa,
like the
they are
way
known
how
to.
Virat Kohli has countered them. This post Asia Cup Virat Kohli from Asia Cup, Virat Kohli has looked to take on the spinners a lot more than what
Yeah,
he
yeah.
used to do. I think so. That's he's using his feet a lot more. I think it's got to do with mental thing. Once you want to go in with an approach of taking on spinners, you will tend to do. And Virat Kohli always had done well against spin for a longer period of time. There was patch which came in middle. I don't know what really happened. Only Virat Kohli can tell us better than
Well, there
anyone
was
of
a
Yeah,
us.
beginning of
he
sorts of
on
this.
that rough patch as well. He still had an average of over 40 against spinners. It's
Yeah,
just that
Yeah.
his strike rate dropped considerably.
yeah. I think it has to do a lot with batting insecurity. A lot of things
I
can
think
creep in.
one more thing was I think what was also happening was Virat Kohli loves to play in the V, and a lot of leg spinners started to ball outside off stump a lot more, make him force him to play square the wicket on the offside. Am I audible? I think there
Yeah,
was
yeah,
some
Yeah, yeah,
connection.
yeah.
Yeah, I was saying even if he was being forced to play a lot more square of the wicket. Virat Kohli likes to play straight down the ground a lot more. And what Virat Kohli now has done against spinners is trying to step out and create that angle with the V a lot more. That's
Hmm.
probably what I've seen Virat Kohli do. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to see Virat Kohli back because when he is in his best mindset, he's just trying to dominate whatever kind of bowler you are. I think, and that's what Virat Kohli is. It's kind of like Cristiano Ronaldo of sorts, right? He loves bringing that fear factor into the teams. He loves teams revere him as one of the best. He loves that fear factor around him, and even more when someone tries to challenge that fear of influence.
Absolutely. As we're talking about India, I like to say that, I would say this is one of the first World Cups after 2007 T20 World Cup. India are also starting as underdogs, not clearly the favorites to go on to win, isn't it? I remember 2007 World Cup was won, and now after 15 years, this is one of the World Cups where India are
but I think they're
also in the
still
term final.
still one of the top contenders. I think top four
They
definitely. I think.
are, but nobody's rating them to go on to win the World Cup because of
Yeah, I
a
Yeah,
think
lot of
it's
because
the
factors.
because
first time
I,
that
I
we will
think
not
England
expect.
has a far superior team. England and probably even Australia as well. But England on paper and on with their performance as well looks a stronger team uh, as compared to the rest of the field. But I think Australia and India are close second and third on that race, and I think then South Africa, Pakistan, they closely follow behind on paper at least.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you really see this can be, and how is it going to really affect India's performance? Because we're talking about underdogs. I really want to put
I mean,
India also into that
it
category to
should
some
not
extent.
because I mean I believe teams at least don't ever and I believe it's the right mindset as well. Teams never look at themselves and say, okay, we are the favorites, so we should be able to win this, and they're just putting too much pressure on yourself. And I think it shouldn't affect. Ideally, it shouldn't. Especially, I think that's one thing I don't expect Indian players to at least affect because whenever
No,
India
why
plays,
I
wherever
say that
India
is also
plays,
because last World Cup when India was starting, India were considered the favorites to go on to win the World Cup. It was all orchestrated to India to go on to win the World Cup. Did extremely well in two warm-up games against England and Australia. Or fans were high on hopes. Then that pressure really got to them. That's what I could say.
Yeah.
maybe there's some. I mean, I think but maybe in that terms you're right to an extent. Where teams probably, I believe teams generally like to start off as okay, fine. We don't want that kind of pressure on us that we have to win the tournament. Teams like to start on a much more neutral, a neutral standpoint. But then you don't expect at least professional, especially Indian players, to be affected with that as much because when an Indian player is growing up, I think at the moment you're in consideration to an Indian team, all the whole population is speaking about you anyway, and regardless. So you grow with a lot of people talking about cricket, about your game for a long time, from when you're a kid and from when people realize or notice a talent in you. So shouldn't affect the Indian team at least of any other team. But then yeah, we are all humans, and you never know how it affects the team because for that you need to be inside the dressing room and see what the preparations are for the tournament.
and and World Cup is a different game altogether because we saw that India lost a game, a practice match against the Western Australian side, and I think that is something that has been a case with India, with Team India in multinational tournaments. They have been losing to unexpected rivals because it's on paper, at least with the team that they played against Western Australia, you don't expect Western Australia to even put up a fight, but uh, some, like, when one or two of the batters are failing, the other batters are coming in with a lot of pressure and they are failing to sort of get the job done. And I think
Yeah,
that is something that they'll have to solve, and they'll have to solve really quickly
and
because
yeah,
one upset and India are potentially out of the T20 World Cup again
yeah.
because
Yeah.
But such
the
is the
margin of
format of
error
the
is
game
very
as well.
less. With only two
Yeah,
teams qualifying out of the six, you potentially have to win at least four games to be on the safe side. Even if you win 3 games, like India won in the last tournament, they won 3 of the 5, but that they ended up not being able to qualify. So
Yeah,
you need to win 4 games out of the 5 matches that you
yeah,
play.
true. Absolutely. And as we already spoke with Pakistan, I think one of the reason also, I think when Pakistan also does well when there's no pressure on them. I remember 2017 Champions Trophy where nobody rated them to go on to do well.
Yeah.
They lost the first match against India by a heavy margin, and then they went on to build that. So for Pakistan as well, when you don't put pressure on that team, they go on to do great things, especially this
But I
Tri Nation
actually feel
series.
that was the renaissance of Pakistan cricket, and I would like to give. I've always been very vocal about it. I think Sarfaraz Ahmed deserves a lot of credit in the team's success. We are very sort of vocal about him regarding his memes and all the stuff that comes
Lovely.
out about Sarfaraz Ahmed. But he's one player that I have immense respect for. Probably not for his batting, but for his captaincy skills.
I mean, he had something going in his favor for sure, especially in
Yeah.
that tournament, and he got the team together. So that same thing which Babar Azam was also got a job in his hand. He did well in the Tri Nation Series captaincy, was spot on in terms of the decisions he made, especially the batting decisions, the tactical calls he made. I think Babar Azam has got it in him. I think he's got that calmness around him at this point. I think he's not insecure about his position in the team. I think that's a first tick box, especially when you're the number one team name on the list of the team. For Sarfraz Khan, thing what went against him was his performance. His performance was not doing justice to him. That's when a captain also takes a heavy burden. That's when your captaincy also goes down steeply. For Babar Azam, that's not a thing to worry about. I think he's a number one name on the list alongside Mohammad Rizwan. So that really helps him to do well and focus a lot more on captaincy as well. So maybe for Pakistan, what can really work in their favor in this tournament is them playing a fearless brand of cricket. I mean, fearless in sense without taking any pressure. I know the Pakistani media are going to come at them at any stage, regardless of their win or lose. What is funny about Pakistani media is that they like to go at them. They like to take a jibe at them, try to find critical things out of them. I was watching some of the shows where they really pull people out of nowhere. I don't know why they criticize their players a lot more. There's no faith in Pakistani media that they can go on to do well. So, but I really think there's something about this team which can really help them. And Shadab Khan is going to be one important factor as well. Jen, we've already spoken about Shadab Khan, but how big a factor is he going to be for this team?
I mean, any all rounder to any team is one of their core players. But Shadab Khan, what he does is he just has this capacity to pull the match out of. I mean, bring the match towards Pakistan's favor, and he can do it with the ball, with the bat. And he's just that kind of a player, the utility player. You can bat. He can bat anywhere from 4 to 7. You'll fit him in anywhere, and also the fact that you can ball any of the overs. I think till the 15th over, he's balled almost all the overs for Pakistan. So that is something that is an incredible feat as a player. And what is also interesting is, I mean, when you talk about Pakistan, you always talk about one of their gun batsmen or one of their gun fast bowlers. But Shadab Khan over the years has become this, has developed a lot. Not only in terms of his bowling, he's also become a very good batsman. He's really worked on his game and he's ever improving. And now I think if you are to say after, if you have to say after Rizwan and Babar, except for maybe and Shaheen Afridi, probably the only name that crops up is Shadab Khan. So that's how important he is to this team. And I think a good World Cup for him, especially in these conditions in Australia, is going to be very, very important for Pakistan.
I mean, yeah, as we already mentioned, for Pakistan, this is going to be a tournament where they'll have to play without taking any pressure for them to do well. And that's always been the case with Pakistan cricket as well. Whenever they've gone on to do well, it's always been a carefree Pakistani side. 1992 World Cup is the biggest example where everyone wrote them off. They went on to beat the odds and win the World Cup. So that's what it's Pakistan. One day up, next day down. So having said that, we'll end the live right here. Thank you all for joining the live. It was great to take all your questions and great to interact with you. Also, as I mentioned, from tomorrow we're going to be live every day, taking your questions, talking about every game. Tomorrow we have two big games.
Yeah,
Sri
on
Lanka take on
different
Namibia.
timing. Like we'll not be coming on 11:30 from now. At least
We'll be
at
coming
least in
very
the
early.
Super 12s.
Yeah, I think even for Super 12s, we'll be coming live two times from Super 12s. But
Yeah.
if you want to listen to an extensive live, we'll be coming a little early. We'll keep you posted on that. So click on the bell icon so you'll know when we're going to schedule a live as well. So get ready for it. Get ready for more fun. Tomorrow is the World Cup. It's all started. I think today it is. It's already morning in Australia, so we should be ready for it. The players have already woken up. Some players have not slept. So this is it. The big stage has already arrived in Australia. And there's your
Yeah,
opportunity to have an exciting World Cup with us next 1 month or so is going to be exciting with us for sure. Take care. Good night.
Good night,
definitely.
guys.
Yeah, good night, guys.